Well, good morning, and you're listening to Talk 17.3 with Brian Haldane. However, as you can notice this morning, Brian is not in the chair. And so I am Emily Chenevert, and I will be hosting this morning and excited to be in the chair along with JP producing. How are you doing this morning?
Hello, doing well, doing well.
Me as well. I am getting caffeinated. I'll say that. We've got the
Yes.
coffee going.
Mm.
It's early in the morning. And I'm sure many of people that are either driving in, getting kids to ready for school, maybe not headed to school quite yet, unless maybe teachers maybe get in this morning at 6:05. But no, we're excited this morning. Have a great show lined up. I feel like JP, what you think? You saw the list. I feel like we're going
I
to be
know
jam packed this
this is
morning.
this is gonna this is stacked. I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about
Well, I
this.
feel like it's a great time to get a couple. I've got some good colleagues, legislators coming in, talking about just some things in their area, going around the state that we see, but also a really great organization that I've come into contact with and understand the parole project later today. Don't people don't want to miss listening in on that and that what they're doing and just some. We're going to hear from our Speaker of the House, Speaker Devillier, coming on later in the show, and there's a lot going on around the state that we want just people to understand what's taking place post session. Again, things that we're still working on. Obviously, it's never can't get everything done for the state in one session. We know that as a legislator. I know that. So it'll be great to hear from him today. And I feel like everywhere we turn, we're seeing the updates with LED
Yeah.
and what's going on around the state. So we're going to have Secretary Bourgeois in to talk about a little bit about just the vision, mission, what's going on and what's happening. And, JP, what I love to see is that those issues is that sometimes we see great economic development in like one area.
Yep.
But I feel like we're starting to see so much of what's going on in different regions of Louisiana. It kind of touches all the different corners, because North Louisiana is a little different than South Louisiana.
That's
We
right.
got to get some love to all of the state, right?
That's right.
So that's going to be exciting to see, just to kind of talk more in depth about that, and then even talking to Secretary Nancy Landry today. So she'll be coming on and talking a little bit about just some of the new voting machines, what's going on, and some presentations taking place. I don't know if people are aware of that and what that's been like. And so I feel like this Thursday is a good little, lineup, and we'll have a good banter back and forth about things going on. And I'm excited again here on Talk 17.3. I mean, it's not a chance. I get every now and then Brian's going to be out of the chair, so we're going to do what we can this morning, right?
That's it.
And so no, it's going to be awesome. We have again full show having everybody on, and this Thursday before the big Labor Day weekend's coming up. I sure don't have to remind people of that.
Yeah.
Maybe some people have they started their vacation today? Maybe on Thursday.
See, that's what I'm
Maybe
wondering.
took off
Yeah.
tomorrow. If I don't know what you get to do if you get to take off tomorrow and the Monday, but you're living a good life. I feel like
Oh
maybe you have any good plans for Labor Day?
yeah. Absolutely not.
Absolutely,
I don't.
absolutely not. He
Absolutely not.
said.
No. Yeah. My weekend's already jam packed
Well,
with stuff. So
so
LSU on Saturday. And so I'm
LSU.
doing the post game for that. So that's
Okay.
most of my day, and then yeah, Sunday's already booked out. So
Sunday's booked out. We're doing football as well. We've got LSU, but then we have a little smaller player in our household that has his own little Pee Wee football league going on.
nice.
So we have, I believe it's our jamboree this weekend on Saturday. So I have to go watch my defensive end, my little defensive end play,
Yeah,
and also tight end. So I'm excited about that. So that's no, and then also it's Labor Day. It's family, right? Hanging
yeah,
out, relaxing. We're
absolutely.
not supposed to be working, right? We're not
No,
supposed to be working on Labor Day.
no, don't do it.
Right? Don't do
Don't
it.
do it.
You're listening this
Just
morning.
don't
Don't
do
work
it.
on Labor Day.
Just don't do it.
Take a break, relax, have a good Monday. Maybe helping some family move, but that is a little work. But we'll do that
Little work,
before Monday,
hey,
right? So we'll be no, it'll be a good
we're
time.
not that pharisaical. You can work.
You can work a little bit,
Work a little
right?
bit.
Work a little bit.
A little bit.
Work around the house, maybe some honeydews,
That's
maybe
it.
some things that you didn't get done, so that you can relax on that Monday.
Yes.
That's what I always say. I feel like weekends are like catching up on things. I have a hard time sometimes shutting things down
Yeah.
and just not, and then doing a to-do list. So that can be a challenge at times, but no, it'll be a good weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit about that going on, and then get into the rest of the show later today. Have some sports coming up, And want to hit some top stories in trending?
Yeah, let's do that.
All righty. Let's do. Last night, East Baton Rouge Parish Metro Council approved the tax for the LSU Economic Development District.
What's that?
The East Baton Rouge Parish Metro Council approved the tax for LSU Economic Development District. There was a vote. Looking at the news this morning, it was a kind of a debate a little bit on that, but looking at that sales tax, looking at members of the community, they went before the Metro Council and both there was some opposition and for it, but again, that did pass. I know there's a big thing going on. I know nationally, we were talking a little bit about this. Unfortunately, the shooting in Minneapolis. Have you been following that, JP? I'm sure
oh my goodness, yeah, that.
It's a tough.
So many opinions and so many just thoughts that surround that. I mean, there's so much. Besides the devastation, just the fact that what would possess someone to do such a thing to children.
I know.
You know, it's bothersome.
I think every time we face this, there's obviously there's always the debates on all sides of this issue. I think my heart as a mom, that mom heart for people listening, you know, it's a challenge. We send our kids off to school, they go to events, they do things, and you want to believe that they're safe in there. And so I always say, I keep saying thoughts and prayers, though, right? I say keep praying for our kids and praying for protection and all of that. But it is hard. It's hard to see that story. I know I was looking like everybody else. You're on X. You're looking at all those different things coming through. Right. But I was encouraged out there. People in those moments, I feel like you just want to jump in and serve and help. And there is on the ground there in Minneapolis, a pastor there, and they're trying to get in and like at the hospital, helping the families, providing food for those that were working in the ER. And so I feel like in those moments, I think people listening in Louisiana, when we have tragedy and things, they want to jump in and help and serve and kind of bring some light to a dark situation. So that gave me a little hope listening to that last night, watching that video.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah, that actually, that brings
it does, because it doesn't always, right?
Yep.
I know there's another tough story coming out of New Orleans. I know we were talking about.
Yes, the Brian Vasquez. He was a 12-year-old autistic boy. He was found dead after a week-long search in New Orleans, and just more devastating news. And you know what? We say thoughts and prayers. We believe that prayer works, right? We believe that. I mean, not to get too theological here, but we believe our prayers touch the heart of God. And so, I mean, just prayers for this family, prayers for comfort, for peace during this devastating issue. Just, I mean, there's so many things, just so much darkness in the world. But
there is. And like, it's like in these moments too, I always encourage people all the time that, man, it's a challenge to see it, but it also gives you a moment, hey, when you're around your family today, you're with your coworkers, whenever you're talking to people on the phone, man, just always, you never know, like those moments that you may not get right later on in life. So just embrace, love, serve, help, do what you can to encourage and make someone have a great day today. And I think that's sometimes how we walk out of that. How do we kind of deal with those hard stories? It'd be a challenging story, what's going on. And I mean, is it news already though? I mean, it's news. It feel bad. We know there's an engagement in this country that took place that everyone's talking about, but we'll just hit it like that, right? No.
Oh, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I mean, it's kind of a thing, I don't know.
It's
like it doesn't get its own segment, but I did see there was a university that I saw on X that there was some professor. He walks in, and he's like, "Look, Kelsey, Taylor, they're engaged. We can't take a test today," and rolls out. And I was like, what is happening in a university?
I forgot about that.
It was not in Louisiana. It wasn't anywhere in Louisiana. Let's just make that real clear. It was not a professor here. So kudos to that.
Guys, sorry. I'm triggered. I can't deal with this morning, class. We're dismissed. We can't do it.
Dismissed. All right.
We just can't do it.
Well, I'm like, look, we can move on quickly if that's it.
What about Cracker Barrel? Deciding to change their logo.
Yes.
And getting railed for it and then changing it. Be like, no, you know what? We're not going to change it.
And you know what I think? It's listening to the people that love Cracker Barrel and that want to go in there. And look, kudos to them if they're like, hey, you know what? They didn't want to change it. Maybe we shouldn't. I mean,
apparently their stock plummeted 7.2% after the controversial logo design, resulting in a $94 million loss in market value. Yeah, don't play with people's Cracker Barrel, man. Don't play with logos.
Cracker Barrel. Do you like Cracker Barrel, David?
It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind it. I like the atmosphere. I like,
Can I
I
tell
enjoy the
you
food.
the first response? And I didn't talk about it with my kids. Obviously, they're little. However, they were like, "No, don't change all the candy and the toys when we walk in." That's all they
Right.
cared about. That was it. They
That's
wanted it jam packed. Still, they want stuff hanging from the ceilings. They
that's
want
all
stuff
I want.
everywhere. That's all
I
they
mean, all
want.
the candy and everything else.
That's right. Don't
like,
change it. Leave it
that's
alone.
it.
Leave it alone. So apparently, they are leaving it alone. So,
Yep.
well, look, we're be coming up with sports. Be back. You're listening to Talk 107.3 with Emily Chenevert, not Brian Haldane.
What's
How
up,
are you
Taylor?
guys?
How are you? Thank
Doing
you for
good,
coming
man.
in.
Good to meet you.
I was gonna text you and be like, "You still up for sports?" Because that's what she was telling me. And I'm like, I don't know enough about sports. yeah, yeah.
Yell nonsense for 3 hours.
You
3
can do
minutes.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's LSU opening weekend, right?
No, we don't have a lack of content. John, you're passionate about Cracker Barrel, man.
Hey man, let me tell you something. I am.
Tell, dude.
People are fired up about LSU. I'm like, you know what, Cracker Barrel.
Dude, I ain't gonna
No.
bring it up again. You got scared for a second.
It is kind of fun to talk about, though. Like, I just sat back and kind of like was fun to watch.
Oh,
it
yeah.
go back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
No, I feel like I have to give that emphasis because it is such a silly topic. I feel like I have to almost sell it more. Yeah, I don't know. Because it is so silly. We talk about shootings and deaths, and it's like, yeah, I could give a little bit more effort with Cracker Barrel. Like,
I get it, dude.
a little more emphasis.
Well, and you want to like.
I will say this, though. Has anybody noticed the background, the transition? It's been up for like 2 weeks. Nobody said anything
Why is it up there?
because it blends so well. And no one's ever said
No, I'm saying, like, who put it up
I
there?
put it up.
You did.
And no one said
I
anything.
do love all things like dinosaur stuff.
Because we have
Yeah,
some
okay.
guests that come in
Alright.
and they're like, that looks oddly. Patty G actually came in and was like, looks like the Jurassic Park logo. And it's like, now it's like, that's all we saw. And so I put it in there. And I guess it looks so much like the Jurassic Park logo that nobody mentions it. Like, it just blends right in and then it fades into.
Brian ripped them off. Should have known.
Get with the artist.
That guy.
Yeah. Where's the graphic designer? Oh, man.
When we come back from, so we'll do sports and then come back. Kind of before Wyble calls in. Is there kind of a, or is that a longer break? So sports will come back at what time you said? For sports?
37-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So sports, and then we'll just come back from the break, and we'll go straight into that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then we can either go to 47 or go to 50.
Okay. With Wyble,
We just have to hit your money now at
You'll still
50.
do that? Bro, I did this show. I don't know if you know. This is the first show I did.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
I did this for 2 years
Man,
when I first started. Yeah. 'Cause I started in 19, moved up to ESPN in 2021. So 2
Dang.
years, man. Did that.
pretty good. Yeah, man. Here we go.
And you're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I'm Emily Chenevert, sitting in for Brian this morning and having a good time with our producer, JP, talking things up this morning. And now we're going to get into some sports this morning, which take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got a little bit to talk about, right? I
Little
mean,
bit.
we got a game coming up in a little more than 48 hours.
right.
The big one, LSU Clemson. I'm excited about it, and everyone wants to talk about LSU's lost 5 in a row opening games. I understand that.
That came up in my house last night.
It,
just so you
it,
know.
it has to. It should come up everywhere when you're talking about the game. But like I've been out there at fall practice, right? The Clemson logo is everywhere.
Yes, right.
Going 1-0 is everywhere.
Yes.
It just feels a little bit different this year. Now on the flip side, they've lost 5 in a row. I think this is the best team LSU's played in
Okay.
the opener. I mean, they're that good. They're pretty much good everywhere. This is the best team Brian Kelly's had too. So I mean, it's a give and take it a little bit. I'm excited about it. I think that I think LSU might surprise some people in the opener. I don't know yet if I'm picking them just because are they going to fool me 6 times? But
I
look,
don't know.
I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm ready.
You're ready to
I
be
am
hurt
ready
again.
to be hurt again. I wait all year long to be disappointed in the opening week. That's just where we're at this point. Exciting though.
It's true though. Like our LSU fans, like you're right. I think the conversation was like, husband, son, they're having the conversation of, does it matter? Is the trajectory gonna put us in a bad place, right? If we have another loss. And so that was a big argument. One was like, no, doesn't matter. One's like, yes.
It doesn't, but it just makes your margin of error smaller.
That's right,
And
that's right.
you're behind the 8 ball in week 1. And just for fans, it kind of feels like the season's over before it even starts.
Right.
So, like, for fans' sake, win the game. That's
Win the
where
game,
I'm at.
for fans' sake.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's get the season started.
Absolutely.
Well, look, I'm sure everyone's going to be watching. You're listening to Talk 107.3 and with Brian Haldane this morning, and we'll be back in a minute.
All right, guys. Knock that out.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor.
Right.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always fun back and forth.
Brian texted me last night.
Yeah, let's go. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you turn it up a little bit so I can hear?
Oh, yeah. When my mic's on, it goes. That's why.
So we'll be back in. What time? What did you say? Okay. And then that one will be how long-ish, that segment for, let me see. I could have them call earlier, but. That's right. Can't forget our Facebook listeners, watchers, all the things. What, you just said that?
Yeah. My mic was off the entire time. So repeat.
Okay. Yeah.
Debbie, thanks so much for watching and listening.
That's
yeah.
Glad you're watching, listening in,
Yeah, absolutely.
doing both. That's right. The days of just listening to radio are over, right? With Facebook, you can do both.
I know,
Watch
right?
it,
Yeah.
listen, see all the things, see the excitement in the studio early at 6:20.
Yes, yes. I don't even have a sip of coffee yet.
All right, so it's like 3 minutes ish. We can just talk about.
Let's see. Traffic. Let's see. All right, to those on the road, it looks pretty clear. Looking at the, looking at traffic, it looks like it's moving, it's flowing well. No breakdowns have been reported or anything like that. So, yeah, coming into Baton Rouge from Denham or really
Okay.
anywhere. Yeah, roads are clear right now. So that's good. So nothing big to report there. So, yeah, and that's your look at traffic from Talk 107.3. Just quick. I was like, oh, I'm going to just do traffic. Yeah, I was
Good.
looking like, it's flowing well. Yeah, no backups or anything.
I know that's not always the case.
No. I was like, WBRZ coming through for your boy.
That's right.
I was like, all right. We can come in whenever you're ready.
Is it on?
Oh, sorry.
And good morning. You are listening to Talk 107.3 for everyone driving in to Baton Rouge. As you heard, it seems like it's pretty clear out there this morning. Got to take that win when you get it. Not always the case in the greater Baton Rouge area. I'm Emily Chenevert, and sitting in for Brian Haldane this morning with producer JP. Moving right along this morning, and excited about today. We just covered some sports. Obviously, LSU weekend this weekend, so I'm sure people are getting excited about that. I know we are in our household, as well as every other sport that every family is dealing with on weekends. And but going through the show, I know we're coming back and just kind of hit at the top of the show a little bit. But some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, a couple legislators pretty soon coming on. Representative Wyble is going to be coming in talking pretty much in the next segment, I believe, and talking a little bit at a District 75, Washington Parish area. He does so much work with literacy and what's going on. And if people are following what's going on in education in Louisiana, there are some incredible things going on when it comes to underneath the leadership of Dr. Cade Brumley. So excited to talk to Rep. Wyble a little bit about even his experience in D.C., going there and talking and dealing with literacy there and bringing people there. That's going to be happening. And then we're going to do a little bit. I did mention, obviously, we're going to have LED and Secretary Nancy Landry on. And also, what I didn't mention, I know Brian talks about it a little bit here on Talk 107.3. We're going to have Greg Upton in later on today, talking a little energy. He's over at LSU dealing with energy policy and also within CCS. So that's always a big conversation, I know, across the state. It's a big conversation in the legislature. So that'll be towards also the end of the show today. So that's just if you're listening right now and you're going to be able to be with us all morning. We hope you are on Talk 107.3. And so I feel like we have a pretty good rundown on that. It's always fun. I would say, JP, in talking to some of these colleagues, although a lot of them are not always in the greater Baton Rouge area, it's good to kind of get a viewpoint of sometimes of what they're seeing, right, in different parts of the state. And so that's what I love. And I didn't mention, too, we're going to have Rep. Kim Carver on later. He and a few of our colleagues took a trip to Ireland.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
That's cool.
yeah, so we're just kind of talk a little bit about what that's like. I think sometimes people may wonder, man, what are some Louisianians doing hanging out in Ireland? What's the purpose of this, right? What's the relationship? But in listening to some of the conversations they had and with their leadership, and it's pretty interesting to see. And some of them are saying, hey, we're coming to Louisiana. So I know Brian's been talking tourism, right? So,
for sure.
Hey, any more people we can get coming our way, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we'll take it. So I feel like there's still some great places around. I think this state of Louisiana that I haven't seen, and I've been all over this state, right?
Yeah.
Do y'all do the parks and things like that? Have y'all, your family, have y'all done?
A little bit. It's funny. I'm gonna call my wife out. Man, my wife's not a big outdoorsy person.
Okay.
Yeah, not too many parks, but yeah, like unless I'm taking the kids, but no, it's not something that honestly we should take more advantage of. We have something so great.
We really
in this
do.
state, and I'm like, man, we just don't take advantage of it enough.
We really do. So we have gone to a couple, and my husband loves the outdoors, and I enjoy too. I grew up kind of around an area around Toledo Bend, and so there's a lot. There's so much around there, and so my kids love that. But we really do. There's a lot of investment going on within our parks and within environments for families. That's what you want, especially as the fall's kicking in, as the weather starts to get a little less hot, a little less warm, I guess you'd say. That's a great thing to check out. So again, we're going to hear from people from around the state, talking about all different types of things, and I'm excited about it. So want to go to a break real quick, and then we can come back.
So we got ABC News in 2 minutes.
Oh, ABC News 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes
for ABC News.
But no, like just to retract my statement here, like I guess because I hadn't been to any real trails or anything out here, but being from Houma, like we would always hit up like the different trails and things like that as a family and stuff like that. But I give my wife a lot of grief about that because it's like if it's outdoors,
like zero outdoors, like she just is like, no, I don't want to.
The sun hates her. Like she goes out and she burns. Like there's no tanning for her. It's just, she just burns. So it's
look,
I just avoid the sun. Like
man, I mean, I really do. We enjoy it. Like, well, look, it does help when we start getting out of summer and the higher temperatures.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday afternoon, I'm sure people listening, you're pretty similar. I actually had laptop outside back porch. My daughter's picking up softball, which is a new thing for her, and so my husband, they're throwing the ball outside. Like it's fun. You can be outside more it is really rough though. So just kudos to your wife. I get it. Like even in the hot temperatures, those of us that love the outdoors, even sometimes for us, we don't like it.
But
right?
Once it starts cooling off though, and they get a little breeze, a little fall breeze, oh yeah, she's out there.
Well, I always say that the rule of thumb in Louisiana, if you're outside when it's warm,
Yeah.
summertime, whatever,
Yeah.
there has to be water involved. So
Oh,
it's
for
got to
sure.
be either the pool, it
Yep.
has to be your kids. You're running through a
Has to be.
sprinkler,
Yes.
what slide,
Going on a
like
splash
whatever
pad,
it is,
something. Yeah.
whatever it is. Find some water, get into it. I mean, we have a pond. I have found my son in the pond with the dog, all the things. He has a life jacket on. For all the
Yeah.
mamas listening, he's safe. However, just find some water. Right?
Yep,
It's
yep.
just you can't handle it when it's so hot.
Oh yeah.
No, but the park park's great. I think for us was big about like water skiing, Toledo Bend. I mean, look, my husband loves to fish. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
listening right now. So any chance we can get to do that, it's always a win. And there's a lot of fishing in this state. We know
Oh,
this.
for sure.
Everywhere
yeah.
you look, right? Down south,
Absolutely.
in the middle, wherever, just find some water. So no, it's a good time. A good time for sure. And so again, we will be hearing from around the state later today, and looking forward to my colleagues and having them come on shortly. And we're gonna cut to some news.
Yep.
You're
ABC.
listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. Emily Chenevert sitting in for Brian.
All right. Perfect. Yeah. News. Yep. Perfect. Right on time.
That's the one I always want to make sure I'm like,
Oh yeah. ABC News.
yeah.
And he'll be calling it, or
Yes.
oh, okay.
He's next, right? Yeah. You said it'll be 37 when we come back.
Mhm.
All right. I was like, you're doing it. You know the breaks.
Yeah.
See, but still.
Oh no. Oh no. And my oldest daughter, oh God bless her, because she's in band. She does marching band and stuff like that. And she's the same way. Like she gets in the sun and she just gets burned. There's no tanning. It is just she's yeah. She's just so white that I. Oh yeah, same. Oh yeah, my other two daughters.
Like it's.
We tan, and my oldest, my wife. I mean, yeah, they will burn before like the sun. They're so white that the sun just reflects off of them, and just it's terrible.
Yeah.
They're so pale, but yeah. Oh yeah, once it starts cooling off though, oh yeah, my wife will be found out there. Not on a trail anywhere, but she's out there.
Some love it, some don't.
Oh yeah.
Good morning.
Mm. Man, it's warm. I don't know if it's just me or what.
It does feel a little warm.
It is warm, isn't it?
It feels a little
Like
warm in here.
really
Did
warm.
someone turn the heat on?
I don't know. Yeah, but like I'm really sweating.
mean, I could do. So, so what time? Your money now would be over at what time ish? Okay. It'll be a short segment. It'll be a short segment. And then I had the speaker. I had the speaker on. Um, I was gonna take the spot at 7:05. Is that right? So we would go to break after that Kim Carver one, and then okay, yes, and then that will be yeah, 10 minutes, and then the next one was we go to a break in between the 7:15 at LED, come back after Susan's 15. What? How, okay, so the Crime Stoppers is more like 7:35. Comes after that break. So for Susan, the LED, she should call it what time? She's a 7:15, and that's what Brian told me. But what's the actual? Okay, basically those two would be back to back. I'd have the speaker, and then I would have because I have like Carver speaker and then Susan. Hmm. Okay. And good morning. You're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I am Emily Chenevert sitting in for Brian this morning and moving things right along with producer JP this morning. And we'll be talking to a great colleague of mine, Representative John Wyble from District 75. John, how's it going this morning?
It's going great. Thanks so much for having me, Rep. Chenevert. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
I love it. I love it. Look, I know who's going to be up early in our colleagues, and we know it is going to be Rep. Wyble. I will tell you that. And so I love that. But not only that, you always have a lot of great information to share about what's going on in Louisiana, not even just your district, but across the state. And so let's get to it. Let's talk a little bit about. I know your passion is education, literacy, creating a great place for Louisiana, but let's talk a little bit about. I know that you went to DC, and tell me a little bit about the trip there. I actually have not spoken with you since you have gotten back from that. And let's talk, kind of start there a little bit this morning.
Sure. And as a colleague in the House, I don't think Louisiana's future has ever been brighter than what it is right now. And to imagine in our lifetime what we're seeing is just incredible. And I'm just blessed to be a small part of it.
Yeah.
The trip to Washington, D.C., meeting with the president's staff, his senior policy advisors, I believe was game changing for us. It really put us at the epicenter of just how impactful the work that we're doing here in Louisiana. And you talk about education, and it is a passion of mine, but more importantly, it's the foundation of our workforce, and it's the foundation of our future.
Yep.
We're trying to increase the skill of our workforce across all ages, but building the future Louisiana, and you know this, it's really predicated on third grade literacy, third grade numeracy. That is the foundation of how we project the workforce. When all of these exciting projects are going to be kicking in, we're going to have to, we'll be at a point where we've got to provide that workforce, and that's where it's happening. And I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Well, and to Rep. Wobble, share a little bit about, prior to even you being in office, you have always, maybe for those listening this morning, sometimes we see kind of what we're doing while we're in office and what we're focused on now. But you have always really pushed the idea of literacy wanting to make sure that we're getting back to the basics and we understand that number one, that our students can read and they can understand and comprehend. Can you share a little bit about what you really did even before office and why you care so much, right, about literacy and just the education piece and like connecting it to workforce?
Yeah, that foundational literacy is so important. From birth to 8 years old, 90 to 95% of our brain develops. And reading is not a natural function of the brain. We actually have to teach our brain how to read. And we have to reach those young learners by the end of third grade. As I said earlier, it's a precept to workforce. Unfortunately, when we see poor outcomes at the third grade level, we can project incarceration rates and other things, but it's so critical to what we're doing. And the organization I work with, the Center for Literacy and Learning, back in 2019, we worked with the administration then, the legislature at that time, and we created the Early Literacy Commission, which was really opening the door for a lot of the reforms that we at our organization pushed for over the last 5 or 6 years. And now we're seeing the results. I mean, Louisiana's in a place few of us could ever imagine being in. And it starts with improving literacy attainment for those third graders by third grade.
Yes, and I know that for people, listening this morning too, about I'm talking to Representative John Wyble, a state representative out of Washington Parish in District 75. But in talking about this in literacy and looking at where Louisiana has grown, I'd mentioned earlier that you look at leadership under Dr. Cade Brumley, look at how we've risen from, we're always kind of in the bottom tier of moving, of improvement, but we're not in the bottom anymore. And we're
Right.
growing, we're getting to a place where, a place we can be proud of, a place where we know that accolades, just I can't sing praises enough, right, to our teachers and
Exactly.
people like yourself and just people that have been focusing on this for years, that it didn't happen
Mhm.
overnight, right? Like this didn't happen
Not at
overnight.
all. Not at all. And, the center, we've been around for 33 years. And for just over 30 years now, we've actually hosted the nation's premier literacy conference I would argue, in the world. It's every year in New Orleans. We host it. It sells out. It's over 3,000 strong. And we bring every top practitioner, researcher from around the world to this event. We have teachers and educational leaders from every state that come to it, plus typically about 6 countries are represented at this event, all happening here in Louisiana. So we knew early on that Louisiana could be a standard bearer for literacy reform. And through those reforms, we've reached a point now where in just a few weeks, our organization is going to host a literacy symposium on Capitol Hill where we're going to be partnering with the Louisiana Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, Secretary McMahon, who we helped to host in Baton Rouge just a few weeks ago. Her senior advisor on literacy policy is going to attend and be a part of it with us. And we're scheduled to host the Second Lady, Lucia Vance, who has made literacy and reading her primary cause as the Second Lady for the United States. So
Well,
we're putting Louisiana on the biggest stages there are, and we're proving that a child's background and where they come from should not define our expectations for that child's outcome.
absolutely. I mean, I love what you said. I mean, that's exactly what we want for students in our state. That no matter where you come from, your zip code, your family, that you should have that opportunity. And I
Right.
love that the fact that we have like people like yourself and groups going to DC and to be a part of that conversation is huge for our state. It's huge to show what's taking place here in Louisiana and that we're rising kind of to the occasion in that. And that's incredible. You mentioned Secretary McMahon. I know that she had made some stops. She actually stopped at a school in my district as well. But
Mhm.
can you share a little bit about what that meeting's like? I know for people listening, they might have seen it in the news and some of the headlines and kind of what whether it's mainstream media or whatever, they see what's being said about the department, her goals, and along following the Trump administration. Can you share a little bit about what you heard from her directly and what that experience was like for you?
Right, and you and I know all too well. We've learned it. I think the news today, generally speaking, news today is more about clicks and views and less about facts and information. And so you hear all of these things, but when you meet people like Secretary McMahon, you understand immediately the incredible passion and leadership and vision she brings to education in America. I mean, she, much to our pleasure at the center, um, her priority, Trump's priority, is literacy, early literacy, and specifically using the science of reading to teach young learners that literacy component. That's all rooted in decades of education theory and research. And so I just really, it was an incredible meeting to interact with her. It's clear that she is a leader who empowers people around her. In other words, she may have a vision, the president may have a vision, but it's been clear to us from the White House to the U.S. Department down to her visit here in Louisiana, they're looking for to empower us. And the closer to this child we can make decisions, then the better the child, the student will be served.
That's right. That's right. And I think we hear a lot about this empowering states with this administration and wanting to see. I think that when we hear that shutting down the department, I think it's more. It's to me, I kind of translate that as a shifting of responsibility more from the federal level to the state level. Was that discussed when she was at when y'all were when she was in town and y'all were giving her the tour?
Yeah, it was, and it was discussed extensively, and we at the center fully support that model. One of the things that has made Louisiana so unique in our literacy renaissance, if you will, is that we've used, it's been a close partnership between the department and the Center for Literacy and Learning, and there have been some other stakeholders as well. But getting those non-governmental organizations like the Center for Literacy and Learning involved, we've been able to be that change agent and that leader that sometimes, not to the fault of any one person, but just the nature of government and how it moves, and can be somewhat ineffective. So supporting that idea of returning the resources, returning the decision making to the states, to us is so important because then we can truly and strategically address the most pressing needs for Louisiana students.
Well, I get very excited, Wyble, when I hear that, and I am in full agreement and look forward to to working with you and all of our colleagues and underneath the leadership of our governor, Dr. Kate Brumley. That as we have seen, because look, we're seeing it right now, we're living it, right? We're seeing the changes being made in Louisiana, and then to get that support and us to be able to make those decisions, because you and I both know that the closer you are within education to the issue, right, where it's families, local schools, local teachers, local communities, and school boards, and all of the above. I believe the students win in that, and in that
Absolutely.
formula, and I know that that's what's exciting. And for we got about maybe about a minute left. What's there some last few words you want to share about what we're doing and what you looking forward to the future?
Well, I'm obviously excited about the reforms in education. We're finally at a point where we're less about making excuses for students and more about empowering them and raising the expectations. And we know it. We know it as parents and as people ourselves. We live up or down to expectations, and we're finally raising those expectations, proving that our students can learn with the best of them across the nation. That's so critical. And it really fits in well to what we're doing in terms of the tax reform, the economic development reforms, the one door model. That's a model that I've been a part of a discussion going back 15 years, and we're finally making headway. And that's because I believe we have a governor who has a vision and has the energy, right? Unmatched energy of our
Hey,
governor, and we have a legislature that is just willing to put in the work. and say,
I
you know what?
agree. I agree with you. And
Yep.
look, we're going to head into break. But look, thank you so much, Rep Wyble. We're right here on Talk 107.3. Appreciate your time. Incredible information. And we will be right back.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
It's such a good segment. Kim Carver, this is a short little segment. So this will be what, like 5 minutes? I keep forgetting to look at Facebook. I know I keep asking you over and over the times. I'm just trying to like. I want to make your job easier, so we like get to the breaks, and I make sure that I'm not ruining the flow. Towards the end, oh, I loved your comments about prayer. Bring it. That was awesome. I loved it. Good. No, I don't think so. That's right. It's good. I think it's good for people to hear the heart of people behind the mic. Sometimes you listen to people and there's like, is it just, no, I'm like, when I was at Channel 2, I loved the morning show format. And if I stayed in news, I was like, wanted to kind of go the morning show route, like do that other than television. Just because it's, you can do the interviews, the nonprofits, you can do not just feel good, but like you do hard stuff, but you can do like, let's talk about like how do we impact people? What's the good happening? You know what I mean? Like that's, I know. Right. It's And this will till about 7-ish, you said? Okay. Okay. And this is 15, right? Is this 15 seconds? And we're back, Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I am Emily Chenevert, sitting in for Brian this morning and moving the show right along. Had a great segment with Rep. Wyble, and excited to talk to another colleague, Representative Kim Carver. Kim, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Emily. It's great to hear your voice, and I know the listeners are excited to have you filling in for Brian. What a great substitute plan B.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. We're doing. Me and JP are doing. We're getting it done this morning, and we're excited. I'm excited to kind of have a little fun. I wanted to hear about this trip. You know, I was talking to JP about this morning, and how you and a few of our colleagues, state representatives, were able to represent Louisiana, and you guys just came back from Ireland. And so, can you tell me about that? What that trip's about? How that happened? And really what you guys did when you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is exciting. There were about 10 of us, a handful of our state senators, and then several of us from the State House of Representatives who were invited by the President of the Senate for the nation of Ireland, a fellow named Mark Daly. And I had met him and at a few conferences over the year, and he's been building and developing relationships with state legislatures and inviting them to Ireland to really kind of set up some parameters and some opportunities to tee up, you know, for trade between Ireland and the various states. And I tell you what, the possibilities and the excitement of what we have to offer new markets in Ireland with Louisiana products, Louisiana assets, Louisiana talent is really remarkable. You know, just one quick highlight. You think about the nation of Ireland. They're an island nation, right? The Emerald Isle. Yeah. And they have to import 80% of their energy. Well, you know, Louisiana is a powerhouse, right? When it comes to energy production, we've got strong oil and gas, but, you know, right now with the Venture Global project in the southeast part of the state, down in Plaquemines Parish, and the work that's happening over in the southwest part of the state too, we're going to be one of the leading contenders on the planet for exporting natural gas from here in Louisiana. And Ireland is very interested in that. So we were talking about building a terminal to accept Louisiana natural gas on the west coast of Ireland. And that was just one of many ideas that we shared and kind of explored over a couple of days visit there in Ireland last week.
Well, that's incredible. I think in listening to that, you know, you think about these trips, and sometimes it's good that you guys are there representing this great state, because it puts it in the forefront of their mind, and then recognizing, you know, how much of that energy conversation's happening. And we don't always think about that, especially in these countries like that from a state perspective, right? We think about, yes, the United States and these countries, but from a state perspective. So that's incredible. You know, when in talking about this segment, I told you that we're going to probably have to have you on to talk more about it. I feel like maybe even later, but and wrapping up kind of like in a minute, what is one thing, what was a big takeaway for you coming back from Ireland that you, whether it's a fun takeaway or just something you learned about the way they do laws there and how they interact there?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, they were so gracious and so accommodating, such a friendly people, and really that's exactly what our reputation is here in Louisiana too, right? Like we are the kind of the front porch for the world, a culture that people love to come and visit. Very much the same there. They received us with open arms. And look, it wasn't just legislative work. We had people from the private sector too, from healthcare. We had researchers from Pennington Biomedical with us. We had folks from academia, from Tulane. So just the possibilities for two governments like our state government, their national government, to exchange ideas, to exchange goods and commerce it's
It's
You know,
huge.
it's
It's
exactly
huge.
what we've been working on, Emily,
That's
which is
right.
creating prosperity and opportunity using the resources, the assets, and the attributes that we have here in our
That's right.
state. It's really exciting.
Well, Rep Carver, thank you so much for being on the show this morning and get some updates. We may have to have you back on to talk more about it. We're
Yeah,
going to
let's
cut to a
do
break
it.
right now. You're listening to Talk 107.3. Sorry. You sure? It really does. It's good though. But I mean, I'd rather have, even if it, and I told him, like, hey, these are a little shorter, but just these chunks of just
Yeah.
like little bitty,
Yeah.
it's harder sometimes to wrap it in. So the Speaker of the House, Phillip Devillier is going to call. I told him, what did I tell him? 7:05.
Oh yeah, that'll work. Yeah, because we'll be coming in.
And these are going to be back to back, but I mean,
Nice.
it's good.
That works. Oh yeah, that should be good.
So the other hard break really is that 30-30, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before
That's
Crimestoppers.
that. Yeah. That's that. Oh man. ABC News.
You see what?
Yeah. ABC News. See what's going on Facebook. Facebook crew, good morning. Matt, good morning. Let's see. A little quiet this morning.
Very, very quiet this morning. Should I have him call in a little earlier or no? Is that good? 7:05? Because he won't go on until.
Yeah, he can even call in now if he wants.
That's the speaker.
We'll have you up here shortly.
Moving into the 7 o'clock hour.
That first hour went quick.
It did, huh?
Like, seriously, like that went really quick.
I like to keep it going. That way I'm like, All right. Good morning. You're listening to 107 Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I am Emily Chenevert sitting in for Brian this morning, and we are moving along. JP, man, we just got through 6
Telling you.
a.m.
Yes.
Right? We're in the 7 o'clock hour. It does move along pretty quick when you have some good conversations with
Indeed.
some great people. And I'm excited about this next conversation. Very honored to have the Speaker of the House for this great state of Louisiana get to serve underneath and serve alongside Speaker Phillip Devillier with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. How are you?
Good morning, Representative Chenevert. I'm doing great this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you so much for spending your morning a little bit, just a few minutes with us and the listeners across the Greater Baton Rouge area, and here on Talk 107.3. And I would just love to hear a little bit. Since we got out of session, there's always things that all of our colleagues, you as doing, and you yourself that do so much across Louisiana, and just a little bit of an update, a little bit of post session, and what you're seeing as you meet with colleagues, talk to the other House members, and just kind of moving around the state. What are you seeing post session from the speaker's perspective this morning?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, as you well know, I've been in the legislature for, I guess, a little over 10 years now. And I was sharing with you guys in session, going through my notes from my first term and, of course, my second term, and just going through goals and what I'd like to accomplish. It was kind of, I would say, discouraging my first 8 years in the legislature because I just wasn't able to get any of my goals accomplished. And then, of course, you guys come in, a new class coming in, and a new legislature, a new governor, a new Senate president, and I'll say in 18 months and really just our first 2 years of being in this term, we've surpassed all of the goals that I had set as far as, what we wanted to do when it comes to education, what I wanted to do when it comes to insurance and tort reform, what I'd like to do when it comes to tax policy, it's just all in gas, all of the things that I thought we needed to do to try to move Louisiana forward. We've now surpassed those goals that I thought, really, I was discouraged to think that we'd ever get even close to them. We've surpassed that now. Just going around the state and seeing all of the new investments, we have well over $60 billion of new investments coming in. It's just so encouraging. I met with Susan Wyble yesterday in New Orleans with the governor and the Senate president, just like, and this is incredible, all of these announcements. What are we doing to prepare for it when it comes to workforce development and just different things, infrastructure investments? It's just incredible. There's so many positive things going on, and it's exciting.
Well, I love to hear your perspective on that, especially for someone like myself and a lot of our colleagues who just got into the legislature. I've always said that there's so many people that sow incredible seeds that have just sown and worked and put the sweat equity into it. And so I think a lot of it is that is people like yourself and colleagues that have been there in the trenches, trying to do some good things and had hope for some great things. And now I feel like we're all getting to see that together. And so I love to hear those that have, I say, go before, but have been there in the trenches and have been trying to kind of, fight those battles and get the messaging to the state. And so I'm excited just to be a small part of that. And, we talk a little bit about Mr. Speaker. We're speaking to Speaker Devillier with Speaker of the House for the state of Louisiana right now. And we talk about the story being told across the state and like what's not being told or maybe what gets lost in the shuffle. What would you say? I know you shared a lot about it a few minutes ago. But as you're doing a road show, I know we'll be together tomorrow, I believe, next week, and with a lot of our colleagues. What do you feel like when do you think people are getting the story? Do you feel like they're seeing it, that they're feeling it as you go around the state? They're starting to sense that there's some hope and that there's a lot that's taking place as you talk to people?
Yeah, I'll say over just the last few weeks, I think people are really starting to see the work that we've put in. And I'll just give you an example. All the work that you guys put in when it comes to insurance reform. You passed an incredible bill when it comes to modified comparative fault. That bill doesn't even take effect, I don't think, until next year, if I remember correctly. But, that's one of the biggest instruments we've ever passed when it comes to tort reform. And I think the insurance industry is seeing the efforts that Louisiana is putting in. And it's just incredible. There's so many positive things going on, and it's exciting.
Well, I love to hear your perspective on that, especially for someone like myself and a lot of our colleagues who just got into the legislature. I've always said that there's so many people that sow incredible seeds that have just sown and worked and put the sweat equity into it. And so I think a lot of it is that people
making, and we're starting to see that in current rate reductions that they've announced recently. But no, I mean, the people of Louisiana certainly they need relief when it comes to insurance. A lot of it is homeowners, obviously auto, flood insurance, and as you well know, flood insurance isn't something that Louisiana really pushes. That's the federal government through FEMA.
Right.
And we were in D.C. A week or so ago, and we asked about the risk rating 2.0. But the people of Louisiana see all of just insurance as one thing. They don't see those individual differences. So, we certainly have a long ways to go, but those policies that we've passed and we've put in place do take time to actually, some of them to go into effect, like your bill. And then once those bills do go into effect, I think we're going to see some great strides. But look at education. I mean, in 2019, we were 49th. In, I think, 2022, we were 42nd. And this year we went down to 32nd in education. That's the story that when you tell people, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. And that's an incredible move in Louisiana, because you always hear we're last in education. Well, that's not the case anymore. And then, of course, our business climate. I mean, we went in November, did a historical tax reform session. I mean, we cut personal income tax down to 3% flat rate. And I mean, when you look at all the states across the country, any states that have income taxes now, we're one of the lowest, if not the lowest, income tax charges. And then on the corporate side, we cut down from 7.5% to 5.5%. Franchise taxes going away next year. I mean, that is a huge, huge tax cut across the state. No one's talking about that. They need to understand that we've done some just major, major reforms. And when you look at those tax cuts and the things that we've done in November, I mean, you saw our business rankings go from the mid-40s, now we're into the 20s, the low 20s. And, I mean, there was an article, I think, that was released this week from ALEC, and it talked about Louisiana's comeback story. So that's so encouraging. I mean, as you know, what we're doing with DOTD, people are very frustrated with our infrastructure, our roads, and our bridges. I mean, led with Chairman Bourriac, we now have a new and reformed DOTD. Those reforms are painful. They take time to put into place, but it's something that we're going to see the fruits of, I think, sooner than later, and that's very exciting. When you look at our budget for 2 years in a row, we've had basically a standstill budget. We have not grown our budget, and additional dollars, we have invested those into one-time expenses. And, I mean, this year we paid down one of the largest payments in pension debt, and you saw in this budget cycle with that payment a savings in interest alone of over $25 million in the state coffers. I mean, that's just incredible, it's exciting. People aren't getting that story. So starting next week, as you know, we're going to start going around the state and telling our story, and I'm excited to do that.
Yes, and I'm excited as well. I love storytelling in general, and I think that that's something that I believe it will just not just inspire, but encourage families, businesses, young people, that help them have a different outlook of where we're headed. And I think that's what I get as you're just listening to these things, even as me being a part of it, as you're rattling these things off, we have to keep putting that in the forefront, because we know that is so motivating, just to hear that. And well, I was talking this morning earlier about how much we've seen through economic development, what we see. I feel like there's a new announcement. Again, there's never a perfect piece of legislation, a perfect legislature, but I will tell you this: I feel like there is some serious hard work being done under your leadership, under the team. I like to say team. I just like the team word, to get stuff done for the state. So, with about a minute left, Mr. Speaker, what would you like to share just with those listening in 30, 40 seconds of just hope for the future, where we're headed in this next session?
Yeah, look, I'll tell the listeners, I think what we have in Louisiana and in the legislature right now is a team that we've never seen before. We're working together on the House side with the Senate, with our governor's leadership, his team, his cabinet members. We're just all pulling in the same direction to make Louisiana what she's always deserved to become. It's exciting. Just give us a little bit of time. Let these policies that we've put into place, let them start to work, and I think it's just going to be a new Louisiana coming, and it's just an exciting time. So,
well, I appreciate your leadership. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for being with us this morning and sharing this information, and to give that to all the listeners in this area. And we appreciate you. And you are listening to Talk 107.3 and we will be right back. That was great. She said she's trying to call the next one. Yeah. All right. So this is time. We come back in. This will be about, is it 10 minutes ish? Okay. Okay. All right. So I have a good, not 15, but it's Well, good morning. You are listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I am Emily Chenevert, sitting in the chair for Brian this morning. He is out, and it is JP and myself in studio. Had a great show. What a great segment hearing from our speaker, Speaker of the House for the state of Louisiana, Speaker Phillip Devillier. Appreciate his time. It really is an honor to serve with him along my colleagues. And, it's interesting being a part of everything he's talking about, yet still hearing the kind of the rattling off of the list and all. I don't forget because I was there and I remember the hard moments. However, it's so good to be reminded, even as a legislator, of like keep moving, keep trucking along. Let's do some good things for the state. So excited about that. Hopefully, many of you were able to listen in to that. Again, you're listening to Talk 107.3 this morning. I'm Emily Chenevert, and I'm excited to hear. We're going to be listening, talking to right now with our Secretary of LED, Secretary Susan Bourgeois, who I don't know about you, anyone listening, but if you're following what's taking place in Louisiana as it pertains to business, industry, and what's going on, I feel like every day there is another announcement. There's something incredible happening, and there is some great work being done at LED with Secretary Bourgeois. Secretary Bourgeois, it's great to have you on this morning. How are you?
I'm well, and thank you for having me, Emily. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Absolutely. Well, we just appreciate you taking the time. I know you mentioned to me that you're kind of traveling, you're in your car back and forth, and so we appreciate just a few moments. I know that that's a good sign when your LED secretary is in her car moving.
I feel like I'm in my car a lot these days, but you're right. That is a good problem for us to have as a state.
That's right. It's a great problem to have. Well, look, this morning I thought it was important to let our just listeners in the greater Baton Rouge area, surrounding region, just hear more and more about LED, the goals, and really some of the bigger projects and things that you're a part of. I know that I saw everything in New Orleans. Yeah, I think it was yesterday, and what's going on there. But can you just kind of give just a bit of a recap of kind of what your summer's been and post session, but really what's taking place so that people have an idea.
Yeah, it's I only picked up the last segment. I hate that I wasn't able to hear all of the conversation with the speaker, but first, I think the big part of what I'm able to do right now, and our team at LED is able to do right now, is absolutely part and parcel to what Governor Landry and the legislature, all of y'all's hard work is doing just to change the entire, changing policy does more than changing policy. It changes perception, and then perception changes reality. So the opportunities that Louisiana faces right now, in a good way, are so incredibly vast that I feel like so much of our department's work is purely seizing those opportunities. And you made a point about how it's almost hard for us to stop and take time just to look at all the things we've done because of this sense of urgency that this entire administration and legislature has worked under for 18 or 19 months now. So I'm going to give you sort of an example of that. Friday, I was in Franklin, Louisiana, doing a ceremony for a company called Saronic, that is a shipbuilding company down there that's actually building autonomous marine vessels, right? So for the U.S. military. And then Monday, I drove to Ruston to spend the day up there. The governor, the North Louisiana delegation met us up there to announce a huge investment from a company called Radiance that is going to do secure microchip manufacturing in North Louisiana. And then yesterday we were down in New Orleans, announcing LIVE, which, while it is an event, it is a very strategic event. So that's just 3 days, right? And I could go on, and I'm happy to, about the list of what we've done, and really even talk about the pipeline, about what we believe we have coming.
Yeah, and so that's what's exciting, is that you hear these things, and I was just writing down where you were in the state. I mean, it literally is traveling as you're talking, and so it shows that sometimes we see economic development maybe in Louisiana in one area, and just because of whether it's just one specific place, but that's not what's happening right now. I mean, right now I feel like it's all over the state. We're seeing great things happen in different sectors, which is impacting those local businesses, those local communities, the local opportunities, and that's what's exciting, right, across Louisiana. What are you hearing as you talk to business and industry as they're coming here? Some of the takeaways that you feel like why is it working now? I guess that's my question. Like, what again? It does. It takes the policy, it takes the hard work. But what are some of the tools you feel like, you use that word a lot, and what are some of those things you feel like that's working now that's kind of really making all this happen in a kind of a well-oiled machine?
I think there are two really big overarching reasons for it. First and foremost, there is this, I started off calling it whole of government approach, but I've actually shifted that to calling that now a whole of Louisiana approach to economic development. The level of coordination, collaboration, and just frankly, all of us pulling on the rope, from the led by the governor, and I do believe his sense of urgency is contagious, right? But then the legislature and what y'all are doing, but then local government, the private sector, our regional economic development partners, like everyone is pulling together in this just really unified, collaborative, but impatient in a good way, sort of posture. And I just think that it's both real in that it's working and it's palpable. So that piece is huge. The second piece that we keep hearing over and over again, we sort of describe as ease of use, right? We are making it easier for businesses in Louisiana to expand and grow, and businesses to come to Louisiana and be successful. And at the end of the day, I say this in every speech I give, if you just boil what my department does and what I do every day down to the simple fact that capital flows where it's treated the best, right? And if we work with you guys in the legislature and work across government to make sure that capital is treated best in Louisiana, we're going to continue to have the wins we're having. And with the policy reforms we've made and that sort of ease of use mentality, it's real, and people have taken notice.
Well, and I do. I think that when they see the movement and they see the collaboration, I think it's only going to be attractive to others outside the state. And I know that's my hope. I've heard you say a lot about moving at the speed of business, that government and like what we're doing it's important that we keep that in mind, because there's a different speed sometimes that business they want to make money, create jobs, and that's what's important to them. And so I love that phrase. Is that something that you're seeing, that there's a shift of like, we got to think like that, move at that speed?
I will say absolutely. And I will say the interesting thing, and people who have been in the economic development industry for a long time will echo this. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, every decision about locating, expanding, growing was led first and foremost by the bottom line and the balance sheet. Right now, either an equally important factor or in many projects a more important factor is speed to market. It's how quickly can we get operational, productive, and so speed to market is driving decisions as much as the ultimate bottom line is, because obviously they're very related. But that speed piece is critical to us being able to win. And if you look at our big announcements and really all of our announcements lately, so much of that is because of the ability that Louisiana has created to turn decisions around and respond and react at the speed of business instead of the speed of government.
Right. That's good. That's good. I mean, look, we always say sometimes government is can be slow, and I get it. There's a lot of times that we're working through, but when it comes to people that we are always in competition, I feel like, within every other state. And I think that we're always looking at that. And I know that's something that we just want people to say, let's take a look here. Let's see what they're doing. And I feel like from what I sense and what you see from the public is that they are looking our direction. That is a win for Louisiana. It's a win for people in our state, because we've got to keep our young people. We talk about that a lot. I know at the legislature, I know I've heard y'all talk about that as well, and it's huge. In the last few minutes, Secretary, we're speaking with Secretary Bourgeois of LED here on Talk 107.3, and what are some of the things you feel like future, looking forward to the pipeline? We know there's some big projects in the past, have been announcements. We know those. But moving in the pipeline, is there anything that you can say that you're excited about, like moving forward this next year? Some things you may not be able to talk about, which I understand, but is there anything you could share about that, like, like prepping for the future?
Yes, I can. Of course, we can't share specific project details, but there's a big piece and a really big focus of our department that I think should mean a lot to everyone who's listening, and certainly you, Emily, as a legislator, and others. It is sort of ingrained in our department and philosophically that we have a responsibility to serve the businesses that are already in Louisiana, that have already invested capital here and taken a risk on us, as much as we have a responsibility to go chase, what I call the new shiny things, right? The new shiny things matter.
Yeah.
But for the next several months, you're going to see a really aggressive, really high-profile focus on our department to make sure that we are touching, supporting, communicating with, and incentivizing existing Louisiana businesses to grow and expand here, just as much as we welcome the Metas and the Hyundais and the you name it, the Saronics of the announcements. You're going to see a very high-profile, intentional focus on making sure existing Louisiana businesses feel the same kind of support and communication as we are spending attracting new companies to the state as well. And we're getting a lot of good feedback around that philosophy.
Oh, that's incredible. I would think that would be, you are getting great feedback, because it's doing both. It's attracting the new and what is waiting to find a home, right? What state it is, but also investing into the existing. And so I love that piece. That was the first I've talked to you about that. So I'm excited to see that. And I really appreciate your time. Secretary Bourgeois, thank you so much for what y'all are doing and your work. Look forward to, just to keep pushing the ball down the field as we get back into session. And I hope that you have safe travels wherever you're headed this morning.
Thank you. And I look forward to continuing to work the way we've done for the last 18, 19 months now, together and quickly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Secretary Bourgeois, for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good day.
All right, you too. I love that. Great segment. Love hearing about all of the different things going on within LED. And I tell you, if you are interested to find out more about that, you can get on LED's website and find out everything going on as far as the projects. Maybe they're in your area. Maybe they're in your family's area that lives in a different part of Louisiana, and you want to know, what are some things, how can maybe my local business get involved, or opportunities for jobs. But it's exciting to see that, and so much information, right? Gosh, so good to see what's going on. I mean, incredible time there. And I just feel like those kind of our last few interviews, man, it's like a wrap up a wrap up of like so much has happened in the legislature, so much that's happened within LED and the projects, and that announcement yesterday with Liv. That's a big event that's going to be coming to New Orleans as far as the golf tournament. So it'll be warm, right? But everything is warm in the summer, right? So there's no change, right? So it's exciting to see that. I mean, because look, after the Super Bowl, what a huge impact that was, economically. But again, you're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane, Emily Chenevert in the chair, and we will be right back. All right. So now I'm going to go get them, I guess. Let's see. All right. Good morning. I love it. It's wonderful. Yes. I love this. It's amazing. It's amazing. I do. I love it. Okay. No, look, I'm gonna look over this. Is there anything you need to tell me about the intro and all that? You do the Crimestoppers, and I'll be able to hear it, right? Okay. And then you'll hit the.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
And am I saying? Do I just say LASA? How do we?
Laysack.
Laysack. That's what I thought.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Perfect. Look, I love it when they already know our names.
Laysack. I'm learning new about this.
Blacher. Blacher. First name Jordan.
Jordan
Mhm.
Blacher.
Normally it's Blanchard, but we were, I guess, somewhere along the line.
Changed it somewhere along the line. Really?
I think somebody just decided to drop a D, change A to E. No biggie.
It's the same
Wow.
thing with LaBeouf. There's so many ways to spell
my
it.
brother-in-law
That's my last name.
his last name is Cleary, but he was O'Cleary. They were Irish, but somehow along the line they dropped the O'Cleary. They were just Cleary. And
Wow.
Really?
interesting, yeah.
And it's funny, there are so many different last name Blachers in Baton Rouge. You will be shocked.
Really?
Really.
I think you're the first Blacher I know.
I'll take that. I will take that.
Jordan, you're the only Blacher I've met.
I
That's
will
good.
take that.
Yeah,
means I get to set the bar high.
Yeah, that's it.
Or really low. Yeah, according to how this interview goes.
Let's go high. Let's go high. Let's go high.
Let's go high.
This is good. I'm excited. I love doing these types of segments. I love to find out great organizations, nonprofits, what we're doing in the Baton Rouge area.
We're really trying. We're just really, our biggest thing is just empowering people. We really want to make sure that people in the workforce who are taking care of our loved ones are really doing what's right, and make sure they're adequately trained and prepared to be, because a lot of times if you go to the doctor, you're trusting that they've gone through everything and done their due diligence to be prepared and ready to serve you. It should be the same way in addiction treatment.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's our
100%.
job. That's our job.
I'm excited to learn and go through this. Okay.
No, I have not. This is my first time. This is my first time on radio. I've done like one podcast, but that was like a kind of
You'll
a
be great.
year ago.
This will be great. I'm excited.
All right, good.
I'm glad it worked out.
Look, I got to get my voice. Good morning.
That's right. Good morning, radio voice.
My radio voice. Okay. And now let's take a look at weather.
You may be a natural, right? You may be a natural.
My radio voice. Yep, my radio voice. Radio
What
voice.
is your name? Remind me your name. Susan Thornton.
just can't be that high. You know, gotta put a little put a
There
little
you go, that's
bass
the
in
radio
it.
There you go.
There it
There you
is.
go.
There
You
we
want to
go.
cue up weather?
Yes.
Do you really?
Hold on. Let me.
I'm serious. Do you want to? If you want to tease weather?
Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. Like,
Why not?
okay, I'll let you know. Like, you'll hear it.
Okay.
I'll cue up the weather. You'll hear the weather bad. It'll be in another minute or so. But
Okay.
yeah.
You got to tell me what to say.
You just say.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't know. Thanks for listening to Talk 107.3. Now we'll get into weather.
Okay.
With you know what? Let me get his name.
So you don't have to do the weather.
Oh, perfect.
You just
Dalen Rogers.
You can even say your name. This is Jordan Blanchard with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
you pitch to the weather.
Okay. And now we're gonna go to Dalen Rogers for weather. Okay.
Why not?
Let's do it. You know, I
That's
actually.
what this is about.
This is exciting. I have a degree in mass communication, so this is
You
kind of
do?
I do.
That's my
So,
degree too. That's
see,
right.
see.
Okay,
Yep, see?
That's right.
That's what's up. I like that. If we're not here to have fun, I mean, what are we?
What are we here for?
I love it. I have fun.
I gotta jot down.
Like, I never do traffic, but this morning I'm like, I'm gonna do traffic.
Okay.
It's like, and I'm like, okay, it was easy because I'm like, I didn't see anything on the board, so I'm like,
No.
and no one called and was like, what are you talking about? There's an accident or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool, everything's good.
Yeah.
So. So that's the cue. So if you want to just say your name and be like, we're about to go to Baylor.
Balin. Good morning. My name is Jordan Blacher, and I am with LASECT, and we are going to go with Balin Rogers for weather. There we go. There we go.
There we go.
I will take that. I will take that.
That's good stuff.
I did say it right. Good.
It is. It's kind of.
Do a little.
All right. Well, good morning. You are listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. I am Emily Chenevert, sitting in the chair for Brian, and we are, as Brian would say, moving the show right along. That's his phrase. Wouldn't you say, JP? I feel like that's it. It's not a show
Rolling-
without that.
rolling right along.
Rolling right along, right? So as we roll right along, we have in studio with us today Jordan Blacher, and excited to learn a little bit more about your organization that you work with, LASAC. Am I saying that correctly?
You surely are.
Okay,
you most
great.
definitely are.
Wonderful. So look, Jordan, why don't we jump right in this morning and tell the listeners who you are and who you're with and kind of what brings you in today.
Well, first, I want to say good morning to everyone, and I want to also say thank you for having me this morning. I also want to take an opportunity to thank iCare, Dr. Susan Thornton and Aaron Bradford for allowing me to have this opportunity, as well as Crimestoppers, who is allowing us to be here this morning.
Right.
This
is our Crime Stopper segment for those listening, and
Absolutely.
so we can go ahead and jump right into that. So this morning, as we're getting in this Crime Stopper segment, can you tell me, we're going to jump around a little bit.
That's
We have
not a
some great
problem.
questions to ask. Tell me the connection, and I want to break down kind of, number one, tell me what y'all do, like, LASAC, but then the connection with iCare and Crime Stoppers. So after you explain what y'all do first, and then kind of tell me that connection for listeners of like, how is this all connected? How does this make sense with Crime Stoppers?
Okay. Well, to start, LASAC is the professional association for substance abuse counselors here in the state of Louisiana.
Okay.
So we do not have just one single hat. We kind of do a lot of different things. from advocacy to education, training, and continuing education. So you have the initial education of when you first start and want to get into the field, but also making sure that as you progress and as you go through your career, that you're constantly being fed and learning new techniques and new trainings and best practices. So that's just a little bit about what we do. As far as the intersection between eye care, Crime Stoppers, and LASAC, there was a word in that message that we just heard, and the key word was prevention,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're trying to make sure that, hey, if we can stop it before it happens, then that's excellent. That means that
Absolutely.
we are absolutely doing our jobs as far as making sure that there are adequate resources, information, so people will make the best decisions for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But we also understand that sometimes life happens and things happen. So we are just trying to make sure that we have a infrastructure that is readily available for everyone, regardless of the decisions. If you choose to want to make a better decision for yourself and for your life, there should be an infrastructure in place and that is willing and able to protect you and help you. So that's a little bit about how all of those things kind of
Yeah.
coexist all at the same time.
Well, I love what you said, the prevention piece, right? And
Mhm.
that's something that's so critical. It says if we don't want to get to the crime, we get to this position. Let's on the front end. What are we doing, right,
Exactly.
to help people? Is LASAC, is it just for the East Baton Rouge Parish community? What is that?
Well, I'll say that LASAC actually covers every corner of the state, from Shreveport
Okay.
to Monroe, Alexandria, everywhere in between, Hammond. So LASAC, it won't take you looking very far, especially in the addiction treatment workforce,
Hmm.
to see see LASAC represented, whether that's a member, someone who was educated from our LACT program. I'll actually throw out, I know it's radio and you're not supposed to spit out numbers. But right now, there are about 1,300 addiction counselors here in the state of
Okay.
Louisiana. Our addiction counselor training program actually graduated about 600 individuals.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say that we are the only people graduating into the workforce, but I'm very proud that LASAC is responsible for a large sum of those people.
Well, that's incredible. If you can get people working, I think that's a big part of that's the solution right there,
Yes.
right? Getting them working and doing well. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing the addiction treatment and counseling workforce in Louisiana right now, and how LASAC is addressing that? What are
Mhm.
some of those big challenges?
One of the biggest things that we're able to invite people in, a lot of times these individuals are in recovery themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're empowering them to use their stories.
Okay.
So with that, a lot of people are wanting to enter the workforce, and when you first enter in, a lot of times you're given a practice credential or a
Yeah.
training credential, and a lot of times it's actually called the counselor in training or a CIT. That is what you receive when you first get into the workforce as you're gaining the experience, gaining the education. But unfortunately, what happens there's a limited number of supervisors who are able to sit above these individuals and train them.
Okay.
So a bottleneck is created.
Got you.
So right
Yep.
now there's just a large pool of people wanting to take that next step, wanting to go on and continue their own careers. But unfortunately, there just aren't a large enough sample or a large enough size of individuals who can train these individuals. So we're trying to get creative in the way that we are attacking this issue. And so back to your question,
Yeah.
the biggest issue I would say is just the bottleneck. People are interested in getting into the field. People are interested in helping others. But just making sure that, again, that infrastructure, we have to go about our business a little bit better and making sure that those people are able to get trained adequately.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I know that I Care focuses a lot on prevention education for young people,
Mhm.
right? How does that mission, and obviously you're talking a little bit about that, but how does the mission connect with LASAC's work in that counseling and recovery? So how does that connect on that?
There, it connects, there's connection.
I guess, and
Mhm.
knowing what I Care does, there's a
Mhm.
connection for both you and them in
Mhm.
every way. I guess it is in that prevention piece.
Exactly. The prevention, it's mainly on a adolescent.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, as a product of the East Baton Rouge Parish school system myself, I was able to firsthand see the direct impact of eye care.
Okay.
And a lot of times it exists outside of simply addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime unfortunately, we lost several teachers while I was in high school,
Mm.
and eye care was there because they understand that grief leads into um,
That's very true.
unbridled thoughts lead into. It's almost like a snowball effect. So, and I applaud Crimestoppers for allowing eye care to have this space because they understand that in order, if you're going to stop crime, it doesn't just necessarily take more officers. It doesn't necessarily take more detectives. It also takes the community coming together and realizing that the problem is holistic, so the solution has to be holistic.
You know, it's interesting with like kids and stuff. Sometimes when you're like, I know with my little kids, sometimes their actions, things happen because there's something internally going on, right? Whether it's sad, whether something happens at school, whether so sometimes their behavior. I know this as a mom. I'm sure a lot of moms listening are like, and it's hard as parents, and I'm sure as teachers and everything. No matter where we are in society, like if we can kind of find those moments where what's that hard moment? What's the hard thing? Whether they lost someone, whether it could be a bullying situation, but no matter what it is, you're right, right? If they can get in right before it gets to the point to where they create that whether it's rage or anger or frustration, before they make some decisions that are not good decisions, right? And it can start young, right?
Yes, and I'll give you a really good analogy that I've heard. If you think of a pitcher, a lot of times these children, there are things that go on throughout the course of the day. You're switching from classes, you're going to different things, you're dealing with a lot of different people in one environment. And a lot of times each bad experience is almost like a drop in a pitcher. And suddenly when that child begins to lash out and do things that are out of character, you're now seeing the overflow of that pitcher. So a lot of times you're wanting to say, okay, what happened? And you're trying to find an isolated incident, but often it's not isolated. Oftentimes it's several things. It's a combination of things that have gone into what is now an overflow of emotions, an overflow of thoughts. So those prevention tools and eye care really go hand in hand in making sure that, okay, let's kind of unpack some of this and let's start pouring out of this picture into a safe environment, and let's see if we can get those levels back down and get you back on on the right path.
No, that's a really good analogy. And for those listening, we're listening, we're talking to Jordan Blancher with Lace Act and on Talk 17.3 this morning, and just this is our Crime Stopper segment, but talking about how that connection and how we can find the prevention piece on the front end before we get to someone committing a crime this morning. What do you think that we talked a little bit about it, but schools and communities can do better when it comes to maybe supporting the mental health of kids, or just really just trying to stop that substance abuse? Like, how do we? And we talked about it, right? You just kind of said it, but is there anything else that you feel like they can do better? Even community leaders or people within an area, like what can they look for, or what are some things that could give them some guidance?
I always believe that there is only so much that government can do.
I'm with you on that.
There's only so much that new grants, new monies, new opportunities have the ability to affect. There has to be at some point the community stepping in to help the community. So we have to be able to, those community leaders, whether it's pastors, whether it's any form of community leader, pouring and parents.
Yeah, parents.
Taking the opportunity to stop and check in with your child. I will tell you, how was school? Fine. School was more than fine. We're in school several hours.
I dig with my kids. They knock on that door. I'm just like, hey, your response, something's bothering you. No, it's not. I'm fine. I was like, well, doesn't sound like you're fine. And so it gets to the point to where it bothers them.
Yes.
But then they share.
And that's that overflow.
That's right.
You know, they get to a point where they're now coming to you with a situation that has been festering for several weeks, and you're unaware. And a lot of times, life can life, and you just have to get to a point where you have to just ask those people or ask those children, what is going on? Let's sit down. Let's talk about it before it becomes to a point where it's harmful to yourself or harmful to that child.
It's so good. Look, I love that. I love just. Because you're right. There are some incredible programs, and I believe in that, right? There's some great people that are doing great work. But at the end of the day, sometimes on this prevention piece is just starting with parents, or if a child lives maybe with their aunt or their grandmother, because every home is so different. Exactly. But just hearing their response, hearing their heart, looking at just the facial contact of their eyes, just all those things that add up. And so I think we got about 20 seconds left. But Jordan, just last word, like what if someone wants to find out more information, where can they go?
www.lasact.org. If you are interested in becoming an addiction counselor, we have a program for you. I promise. So we'll find somewhere for you.
Well, thank you so much in this Crime Stopper segment. We appreciate you being in, Jordan. Thank you so much for your time and sharing some information. And listen to Talk 107.3, and we'll be right back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy that.
Well, I appreciate you so much for having us. Yes, yes, yes.
I know.
Hopefully we may, if there are things we hope.
Look, you already started doing weather. Look at you. You can say I did the weather report.
I did the weather. But no, I'll say that hopefully there's a program that we're hoping to bring to East Baton Rouge to actually pay for individuals to become trained and licensed and kind of, again, attack some of the issues holistically. So we would love to come back and be able to talk about that.
Absolutely.
So we'll be in contact. Do y'all have a card or something like that?
I don't have a card on me, but but look, we know how to get in touch.
Okay, perfect.
Brian knows how to get in touch.
Y'all have a good one, okay?
That's right. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. My husband's texting me. He's watching. He was encouraging. I was like, babe, he's like the biggest encourager. So, Chenevert, if you're listening out there, which I know he is, he's not on Facebook, but thank you. All right, so let me get this. So we come back at what time? And then it's a short, like 3 or 4. Is it kind of 5 minutes, or is there? Okay, let me tell Nancy. So I have her coming in. So can we do? Do we do? What is this? I was swapping out. So at 8:05, do you normally do? I'm having Nancy Landry call in. Oh yeah. Because when does this day in history usually go? Yeah, because I was doing. Why don't we do that? Yeah, that'll perfect. And then we'll have a quick break and then come to her. That's what he told me to do. He was like, if you want to switch that out. Should I tell her to call at 8:03, or what do you say? Dippy, what do you do whenever you leave here? Are you like full time in youth ministry? That's awesome. Well, that's good. Oh my God, that's a long day. time flies. I know that's what's crazy. I remember you telling me that. That's impressive. Do you produce podcasts? Do you produce podcasts? Do you do that? Do you have like a whole setup and everything? Yeah, it does help. It just the skills translate, right? It does. Yep. Maybe pitch to it. Yeah. And we're back, Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. This is Emily Chenevert sitting in for Brian this morning and doing enjoying this morning with some great guests. But right now, we are going to go to this day in history.
All right. This day.
This day.
In 1830, the first American-built locomotive, Tom Thumb, races a horse-drawn car from the Stockton and Stoke Stagecoach Company from Baltimore to Ellicott Mills.
Really? Wait, so Tom Thumb. So is that the gas stations that we see in some other, like in Florida? There's tons of Tom.
Right.
I don't know. There's got to be a connection there.
It
right?
has to be.
Has to be. Has to be.
And get this, due to mechanical problems, the horse wins.
Really?
So yep.
Wow.
Beat the locomotive.
Beat the locomotive.
That's it.
The horsepower.
Yes. That's it.
Right?
That's it. 1939, journalist Claire Hollingworth observes large numbers of troops, literally hundreds of tanks, armored cars, and field guns. Germany has aligned along the Polish border. 3 days later, Hitler invades Poland and World War II begins.
Wow.
So
this day in history.
Yes.
Wow. Who knew?
Oh man.
I mean, we know that happened, but like, it's when you break it down to the day, you're like,
Yeah.
wow.
You're like, hey, something's up here.
One day this
There's
changed.
a lot of.
It was this day. It was this day.
Yes. Oof.
Yeah. Wow.
This day, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. delivers his "I Have a Dream" speech during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Yeah,
That's a big day.
Civil Rights March today.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. I mean, who has not seen the iconic picture? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. This day, also music news here, music history news. 1965, Bob Dylan is booed off stage for playing, well, apparently he was booed. Maybe not off stage, but he was booed for playing electric guitar during a concert at Forest Hills in New York City.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he was, went from known being very, a folk singer with acoustic guitar, and then he goes electric and is booed. This day also, 1981, John Hinckley Jr. pleads not guilty to all charges in the attempted assassination of U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
This day.
1996, Isaac Hayes, who co-wrote the Sam and Dave's classic Soul Man, sent a protest letter to presidential candidate Bob Dole, requesting Dole to stop using his song, which supporters had changed to "I'm a Dole Man." So
okay,
there's that.
There's that. This day.
Yes. Moving on to birthdays real quick. Actor Jack Black today.
Okay.
Singer Shania Twain.
Yes.
Let's see. Jack Kirby, of course, a comic book artist here. Let's see. We had Daniel Stern as well, of course, known for City Slickers and Home Alone. Let's see. We also have another one, Quvenzhané Wallace, who is actually a Homa native. And she was in the remake of Annie, Beast of the Southern Wild.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
talented.
Shout
actress.
out.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Moving on to deaths here. Chadwick Boseman. And I have, let's see, who else I had? Augustine, theologian Augustine as well today.
Okay.
As far as national days go, we got International Carbonet Day.
Okay.
And we got Burger Day.
Burger Day.
How about that?
My son would like that. We may have to get a burger. It's Burger Day. Right? Maybe? Who
Yes,
knows?
indeed.
But anyway, good segment. We'll be right back. Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. We'll be right back.
Perfect.
Okay. I have Secretary Landry. I told her she'll be calling. We're back in at what time? About 8:05 ish.
About 80, yeah, 8:05, 8:06.
All right, and then if I have, let me see. If I have Greg Upton at 8:35,
Mhm.
do I? Is there another if I wanted to squeeze in one at the end of the show, would be the best time,
Um,
or is there time like a 4 or 5 minute one,
yeah, maybe
not the 50?
yeah, right after. Well, it could be right after 50, where we have like, I think that might be like 3 or 4. Yeah, like you said, like just a couple minutes.
Is that the best time? Because the 35 would be a longer one, right? Till like
35 will go to 50.
we'll go to 50,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Then we'll
after
be
that.
back by, yeah, back by 50. Well, that one, yeah. Then we'll be back by about 55.
So
Then we have to be out by 59.
so I could have him call in at it's a council member for St. George, and I was just like a friend. I was like, hey, if you want to do a quick banter,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
he would
said
have a
it'd be
few minutes on
short.
the back end. Yeah, it'd be a
That's
few
probably the
minutes
only
on the back
time
end.
because I texted him and I couldn't get in touch. So time to call in at what 55 or call in at 54?
50, 53, 54. What's up?
Hey, how are you? Having a good time? Yeah.
Yeah, it's rolling. It's rolling, man. It's good.
We
It
said
is.
that it's very warm.
It is.
It's
It is. So I even went check because that room has to stay really cold, right? And I find it's not really that cold in there, which that's what I thought was odd because usually I'll crack that door open and let some airflow, but even this morning,
Andrew's at the front door downstairs. Do we have time? Should I go grab him? You want me to
yeah.
grab
No, I
him?
can unlock it.
You got it. Oh, that's
What,
right.
what
Hello.
door is he?
I know that. You told me that. I think that's her. Is that her calling? Maybe Secretary Landry. Hey, Andrew, how are you? Good to see you.
Yes, ma'am. We'll have you up there shortly. Thank you.
This will be a little fun chat. There is we have new voting machines in Louisiana, and it's a big discussion. And so there are some examples. Um, basically, like demonstrations of the machines are going on right now, and anyone can come in and look at them. And so it's just discussed, and so the Secretary of State Nancy Landry can talk about that. favorite one. It's the best phrase ever. So good. And good morning. You're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. However, Brian is not in the chair this morning. I am Emily Chenevert, sitting in for Brian and moving into the last hour of the show. It's been a good time. Had some great interviews going on this morning and fully caffeinated at this point, JP. I feel like, you know what? The coffee is kicking in.
Feel that, yeah.
Right? You feel that by the
Yeah.
8 o'clock hour.
It's like, here we go.
The energy's there. No, excited to be in the chair this morning and really great to talk to. Right now, we're going to be talking to Secretary of State Nancy Landry and excited to have her on. There's a lot to talk about. There is some demonstrations going on of some new voting machines that we are going to be utilizing. And Secretary Landry, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Good morning, Representative Chenevert. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I feel honored to have, we've had some great conversations this morning with some of our great leaders in our state. And I thought it would be great to have you on and talk a little bit about what's going on there's a shift happening, I know, with the voting machines within Louisiana. I thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to share a little bit about to listeners in the greater Baton Rouge area about what's happening. So let's just start there, and then I want to talk a little bit about the demonstrations going on. But talk about the change from kind of where we were with some of the voting machines and the biggest changes with moving to these new machines.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, our election machines that we use are very, very old. They're over 35 years old in some cases, and they don't produce a paper record, so they're not fully auditable. And it's really imperative that we move to a modern system that allows us to audit our election results. So we've been in the process of doing that for the past 3 years. And we are in year 3 of a 4-year process. And what we're doing right now is certifying the vendors who would like to bid on and become our new vendor and have us purchase their machines. They have to be both federally certified and state certified. And so we promulgated our state standards earlier this year, and we are now in the process of certifying the equipment for vendors who are requesting certification. And that's happening at the old governor's mansion.
Okay.
And it's on different days. We already had one day on the 26th, and the next one is September 9th. And then we have also September 11th, 15th, 16th, and 18th. And different vendors will be there on those different days to demonstrate their machines for the public. And so the public is invited to come to that portion of it. And then they also will present the security features to a committee of experts who will, determine if the equipment meets the new state standards.
Got it. So how did that first one go, that first demonstration? Was there a good public representation? Was there a lot of interest? I think it was the 26th. And so how did that first demonstration go?
It went really well. We had a good turnout from both the public and legislators and clerks and registrars from around the state, and it went really well.
That's awesome.
We expect all of them will go well. As everybody was interested. They asked good questions, and the vendors were able to answer their questions.
And so basically we're right now, and for those listening, we are talking to our Secretary of State, Nancy Landry, here on Talk 107.3. And she, and talking a little bit about that. So this is still kind of the process of looking at who we're going to use. Is that an accurate statement to say? We have
Right.
not made that decision, correct?
We have not made a decision yet. We the first step was to hold multiple meetings of the Voting System Commission, and we held 7 of those meetings and allowed the public to testify. And then we had to promulgate state standards, and so we promulgated the state standards earlier this year, and that took probably about 8 months to do. And now we're certifying the vendors under those state standards. They cannot bid on to be the new vendor unless they are certified. And so this is a necessary step in a very long process very transparent process. We have never had a more transparent state procurement process in the history of the state, and we've never had a longer one. This one is taking, it's actually going to take us longer to procure a new voting system than it took to build the state capitol building nearly 100 years ago. So it's extremely transparent. It's a very long and complicated process, but we're being careful to follow every step of the law and comply with the law in every way, and so that nothing goes awry with this one, because we've really got to get a new system in place. Our old system is breaking down, and we can't even get parts for the old machines. They're so old. The parts are not even available anymore.
Well, and I think it's important. I know for listeners, and talking to Secretary Landry right now, for regarding the new voting machines demonstrations. I know, Secretary Landry, I know for listeners this morning that obviously their vote is very critical to them, and as it should be, right, to all of us. And so, and I don't know if people listening realize that the old machines did not have a paper ballot component to that. Can you talk about that, and and how in looking at what's going on federally, I'm assuming that a lot of the states right now. I know that Louisiana had that there's been in that conversation, obviously, but about the paper ballot component now and what's happening across states in us, and how are we in comparison to others?
Having a paper component is best practices now. It allows you to audit the election results after, and the system that we want to see, that I want to see, is one that combines modern technology. So it still has the speed and accuracy of modern technology. We'll still get our results on election night, but we'll have the auditability of the paper ballot, and we'll be able to conduct an audit after each and every election to verify the results of the machine tally. And if you have both the machine and the paper, they provide a security check on each other. So it makes it harder to cheat and easier to vote and easier to get our results on election night. It'll give the voters more confidence if they can see a paper ballot and verify, yes, that's how I voted, before they put that paper ballot into a scanner to scan the results. And then those ballots are kept under lock and key and used to audit the election afterwards. It just gives voters extra confidence that their vote counted and that their vote was accurate, and it makes it harder to cheat, and it also allows us the stability and security of getting our results on election night like we're used to. So we think it's the best of both worlds, and that's the kind of system that I'm moving towards getting, and that's the kind of system that most voters in Louisiana would like us to get.
Yeah, and is that something, as far as in comparison to other states, obviously, and not all, obviously, we know in looking at the elections across the country that there's always a little difference. And we got about a minute left, but how are we in comparison to other states?
We're ranked number 3 in the nation in election integrity, so we're doing really well compared to other states. We're not often ranked at the top of a list, a good list in Louisiana. So, we are doing very well. We do elections well in Louisiana, and every state does it differently because the U.S. Constitution guarantees election administration to the state. So each state is free to do it the way that they want to, and I think that we do it in a great way. We're number 3 in the nation. I want to get us to number 1 in the nation, and I think once we get this new system, we will be number 1 in the nation, and that's my goal and always has been.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Secretary Landry, our Secretary of State right here. Thank you for your time and your effort in this. And remember, those demonstrations are going on right now. And for those listening, we will be right back. We're taking a break. Talk 107.3. Come on in. Andrew, how are you? See you twice, and I didn't get to come say hello. The event was so great. Yeah. And I texted my mom, and she felt so bad. My 100-year-old grandmother just got out of the hospital. I don't know if you talked to her. And I was like, hey, okay, good. And so I enjoyed it. I was really enjoyed it. I was talking about it again yesterday to somebody. I had another event, and so some of our legislature friends, they didn't know a lot about the parole project. So do you know about the parole project? This is JP. Yeah, he's been on before. So yeah, I was super excited. I just texted Channing, and I was like, you need to listen in. So I had some notes, but I really honestly want this just to be very casual, like open. You can share everything you want to say. What I did love was at the event yesterday, I was rattling all this off, and one of the legislators with me, he was like, "Did you memorize all that yesterday?" And I was like, "I was just really interested." So I think it was at 630, 640. Yeah, yeah. Right, right. No, so I will just ask you. I'll let you do that as far as like those that have been clients, and we all use the word clients, correct? Right, clients. That's what I thought. Um, no, I thought it was great. And what I loved about the future when we're talking about the how to help people purchase homes, and so I had some questions down, and really, but it was just more of like talk about the beginning, how this got started. You can share as much as you want for those that don't know about it, and then like we'll talk about what's kind of been accomplished in those 9 years, and then the future because 10's a big thing.
Yeah.
Next year's a big year. Like
It is. Most nonprofits don't make it to
don't
10
make
years.
it to 10 years, or to
Yeah.
see it thriving like
Right,
this.
right.
I mean, it's exciting to do that. And I met some of the guys when I went last year when Channing had said, "Hey, just come by the office." I think it was Matt and another gentleman I met that works with y'all.
Mhm.
And so
Ronnie.
Ronnie, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so Channing was like, "Can we come back in?" Yeah. So Channing, but we talked about it, and he's like, "They still talk about that, Em. I appreciate you came by." So. All right, good morning. You're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. And as you can tell, this morning I am not Brian Haldane. It's Emily Chenevert sitting in the chair for him today. And moving right along in this last hour of the show, very excited to talk about an organization that I think is so wonderful of what they're doing within the state of Louisiana. And it is the Parole Project. And with me in studio is Andrew Hunley, who is founder. This is his heart mission. And Andrew, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me.
And so this week was a big luncheon fundraiser for you guys. I was able to attend that. And it is just really incredible. But let's just start off. Tell those listening, maybe they've heard it, maybe they've seen maybe a website, but share a little bit about what the Parole Project does and just its beginnings.
Sure. So the Parole Project is a nonprofit organization based in Baton Rouge, and we exist to provide reentry support for men and women who are coming home from prison with a focus on public safety. We're not about, empty out jails. We're not about, kumbaya, let's all
Right.
get along. We're about public safety, and we recognize that we are all safer and people are ultimately more successful when they have a foundation to thrive and that support they need to reach their full potential when they come home. Our organization started in 2016, and the beginning started with my own release from prison. I spent 19 years in prison, got my second chance, and when I came home, I recognized that I had more support and more resources and a greater network than most people who would be coming home, and had an idea that what if everyone had, that comes home that wants to succeed,
Yeah.
has the same opportunities, has the same support, has a place to live, can get a job, and work towards, prosperity. And that was the abstract concept in 2016. I went to prison as a 15-year-old. They don't teach you in prison how to start or run a nonprofit.
Right.
Luckily, I had a lot of support, but 9 years later, our organization has grown significantly. We've impacted a lot of people's lives positively and impacted this community in a great way, I believe.
Look, I 100% agree, and I think in hearing your story, I think that support when someone is getting out is what's critical. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does it look like if someone's coming out? What is kind of that first step they take with Parole Project? And, how long is that point of contact until they kind of get on their feet? What does that look like for someone listening right now?
Sure. So every human being's different. We're not made in cookie cutter molds. So
That's
we
right.
try to recognize that at Parole Project. What it looks like is we start working with people before they're released from prison. We have a good working relationship with the Louisiana Department of Corrections. And we don't wait till someone's out of prison in crisis knocking on our door saying, help me. We go and meet people we know who are leaving, who are requesting our help, who are recommended by prison staff to our organization. If they accept our help, we're there to pick them up the day they get out of prison. We have a place for them to live. We own and operate 44 properties
Wow.
in the Baton Rouge area that we use to give people that foundation when they come home. We want, and look, this is a hand up, not a handout.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get people to self-sufficiency. And we know it's easier if they have that hand when they first come home. So we're giving them a place to live. They have formerly incarcerated peer mentors, people with that same lived experience who've come home and been successful, so they can have good role models
Yeah.
who are encouraging them. Let's go open up a bank account. Let's go get a doctor's appointment. Let's see a dentist. Let's get your birth certificate and social security card and state ID, and let's go get a driver's license if you haven't had your driver's
Right.
license yet, because we want to do all these things before we get you a job. We're going to teach you workplace etiquette. We're going to teach you technology you may have missed out on while you've
Yeah.
been incarcerated for 20
incarcerated
plus
for 20
years. Because we want you to be, day one, we're not trying to get you a job, but we're trying to prepare you so when you get that job, you can flourish, and then we're working with you to save your money. So our commitment to our clients is a minimum of 1 year case management. Some people may live with us for a few months. Some people may live with us for 9 or 10 months or a year or more. Depends on how much money they're making. We're looking, we have ABCs when it comes to employment: a job, better job, then a career. We want our
like
clients to have careers. We want them to have economic mobility. We want them, to save their money and work towards a foundation, and eventually work to have their own place, get your own apartment, and even for some, the dream of home ownership.
And I think at the event, some of the stories that were told, I know one gentleman talked about being able to purchase a home. And then I think one phrase I remember hearing that he felt like he was kind of living in a dream, like living his dream. What is that like for you a little bit too, watching some of these stories after knowing where you were and then seeing this lived out today, 9 years later, about to celebrate 10 years?
No, it's a great feeling. And look, I think, most people in many communities, they read the paper, they see, stories about crime, and there's an assumption that, it's a revolving door. The same bad actors are going in and going out. And look, there's a subset of people who do pose a risk to public safety, and they are going in and out of the criminal justice system. What we've seen in our work is that there are a lot of people who are first offenders. There are people who went to prison. They were young. They made a mistake. And they're going to serve that. They're going to be held accountable and serve that time. But incarcerated people, just like non-incarcerated people, are ambitious. They mostly want to come home and be successful. So we're providing them that opportunity. It's great to see people become small business owners.
Yeah.
It's great to see people become homeowners. Clarence, who you referenced at our luncheon, spoke about he came home last August, and this month he bought a home. He
That's
became a
unbelievable.
homeowner in 1 year. And, I don't have this statistic in my pocket, but I'll tell you the recidivism rate for formerly incarcerated people who become homeowners is probably virtually nothing.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is help people create wealth, become active in their community, and that's truly how we benefit public safety, not just by ensuring someone doesn't go back to prison, but having people who are taxpayers, who are really making this community better by being good employees, by being good neighbors. And it's awesome to see it. I often say I'm not an exception to the rule, but an example of what happens when we invest in people. And I was a young person who committed a tragic crime when I was 15, and luckily people didn't give up on me. And now, I'm a little bit older. I've been home for about a little over 9 years now. Been very fortunate to have a lot of blessings. I'm a homeowner and I'm a college graduate, and I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I'm living that dream too. And it's not just me. I'm not an exception. Many people can have these same opportunities if they're given the support when they come home.
And I feel like I'm listening to stories, like the support is what matters greatly. You look, and whether people are incarcerated, just everyday people, right? Like our kids growing up, they need the support from mom and dad. They need that guidance. And that's what's critical. And so, but for men and women, or these men that you're hearing that have been in prison, and they don't have the skills, is like, that's what I think is really interesting about Parole Project and hearing that story. There's a lot of these organizations around the country. I've heard, listening to one of the videos, a woman, she was talking about how she sees these around the country. She made the statement that it's one of the best, if not the best, right, in Louisiana, this one. What makes the difference of Parole Project, do you think, compared to maybe other ones across the country?
Sure, there's a couple things, and we are pretty unique. First, we're started out as a small operation, and as I said, we own and operate 44 properties. We have 26 employees, most of whom are formerly incarcerated. So I think one big difference is having those formerly incarcerated peer mentors on our staff, who, our clients can't tell them, you don't understand what it's like. No, we've been in your shoes.
That's a good point.
We've been successful. Don't make excuses. Let's get to work. It's going to be tough. And we can show tough love in a way that sometimes even a parole officer can't show. So that's one aspect. I'll tell you the incredible support that we've had from this community in our organization makes a big difference. And we have a non-adversarial relationship with the Department of Corrections. I think a lot of organizations might see themselves as they have to stand up, and look, there are great organizations that have to do their role,
right,
and I'm not knocking them. We are here to help people who are in prison not go back to prison. So we work with the Department of Corrections. And I think that is a bit different, that, as formerly incarcerated people, ex-cons that are working in this organization, we could have a bad relationship with the wardens and the secretary of the Department of Corrections, and we choose to have a good, strong working relationship. So that really sets us apart, that every day we wake up and we think to ourselves, how can we work within the system to help people rehabilitate themselves, to give people hope and opportunities when they come home to reach their full potential. And that's really what sets us apart.
And I think it sounds like it's how you posture yourselves, how the organization has postured themselves alongside within the system, because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit those that are getting out.
That's correct. And we've leaned in really heavily on housing. A lot of organizations haven't made the investments in housing that we've made. We recognize it's critical that people live with us and are in our
in the family
in
unit,
the family
in the
unit,
house.
Not living in their families' areas, but starting with us sets us apart.
Well, I could talk, lots of segments on this, I'll be honest, and not even get to all the housing part. We got about 30 seconds. Tell me about the future. What are your hopes? And if people want to find out more about Parole Project, what can they do?
Sure, you could find us just about on all social media at Parole Project. Our website's paroleproject.org. And just for the future, we want to serve more people. We do serve men and women, but we're looking for ways to ensure our organization can reach more women coming home from prison, because women coming home from prison are truly an underserved community.
Well, thank you, Andrew, so much for being with us, and we will be right back. Talk 107.3.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate this. I can't wait to tell Mom that I got to have you in studio. Anytime I'm in,
it was, I never connected until like a month ago at LCIW, and she said, "You do realize that Emily's our daughter?" And I met your dad. I was was like, no, I had no
it
idea.
makes sense a little bit when you get to know it.
And then like I'm looking at them, I was like, of course it's daughter. I'm gonna catch up. We met with Debbie Channing and I met with Devillier.
Did you? Okay.
The afternoon we drove to Metairie after us, Mary Beth from Lobby.
Yeah.
And I pitched an idea about a pilot program for a transitional housing program. I'm sure you've heard of work release, but there's no work release for women in Louisiana. So
anything I can do,
women. I would really like to get you on this because it's really even like Debbie heard it and said, "Why aren't we doing this?" I was like, "Well,
yeah." And if she's like, I told Shannon, like I want to help. So
thank you,
that.
thank you so much. See you
All right,
soon.
you too.
Awesome. Great seeing you again. Yes, sir.
All right. It's warm. I know. It's a little. Greg Upton's been on the line. He's next. He's calling in though. Doesn't he always call in? Oh, he's in. Okay,
He's on the line.
good deal. I want to make sure. That's a great organization. They really do good stuff. I mean, yes. It's amazing. Like, and I love that talks about the posturing of like, look, we were there, and so you have to work within the system. You can't be You can have that adversarial. Like that's what's critical, like learning how to work together and get. I've sat with some of the men and just heard their story, and I'm just like I shut the place down one time. I had an event. I'm like, man. All right, so this one is about what, 10 to 12 or 10 minutes, or is this one the one that goes?
You hear that?
What is that? This next one's about what? If I look at the clock, we'll come back in at what time? 37-ish? Yeah, I'll try to wrap it up. We just kind of chit chat until so we don't miss. And then I've got Andrew Nurl. He's a St. George councilman. All right, so this one is about what? That I look at the clock. We'll come back in at what time? 37-ish? Yeah, I'll try to wrap it up. We're not. We just kind of chit chat until so we don't miss. And then I've got Andrew Nurl. He's a St. George councilman. And good morning. You're listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. Sitting in for Brian this morning, I am Emily Chenevert, and we are almost wrapping up the last bit of the show this morning. And it's been had some good guests on. Great guests just a few minutes ago. If you were able to listen in to Parole Project, enjoyed that conversation with Andrew. Check them out. Great work. Moving to the next, we're going to be talking to Greg Upton with the LSU Center for Energy Studies this morning. And Greg, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me, Representative Chenevert. Great to be here.
Can I hear him? Yeah, I think he's there. Greg, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You hear
Okay,
me?
great. Thank you. Well, look, this morning we're going to kind of dive right in and talk a little bit of energy, and had a couple thoughts this morning. But I know there's a lot going on around the state when it comes to industry, what's happening within that sector. For those listening, maybe they've probably heard you on, Greg, a little bit, but share a little bit about your role within LSU Center for Energy Studies and what your focus is, and how that connects to the energy policy in Louisiana.
Yeah, sure. So I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of the Center for Energy Studies, and I'm also an associate research professor. And we're a multidisciplinary research center at LSU that was actually created by the legislature back in the early 1980s. And what we do is we study what's happening in the energy sector, kind of at the intersection of the economy and the environment, and we try to provide that information to you as the legislature, the state agencies,
Yep.
Our business community, and really all of the constituents here in Louisiana.
So, in doing that, in talking energy, obviously we are a huge oil and gas state that is the focus so much of everything we even talk within policy and legislature. What are some of the biggest things for you, Greg, that you're talking to right now from your perspective at your level as it pertains to energy in Louisiana?
Yeah, so this last decade has been really consequential for Louisiana in that we've actually lost about half of the jobs in the upstream oil and gas sector over the last decade. And so when you go to the pre-2014, before that price crash, we had about 50,000 workers in that sector. We had the 2014 price crash. We lost somewhere in the ballpark of 18,000 of those.
Wow, yeah.
That actually created a recession in Louisiana while the rest of the U.S. was still in expansion mode. We flatlined, kind of gained a few of those back, and then we had the pandemic, and we lost another 8,000 to 9,000 during that time period. And so that was really you mentioned the oil and gas sector and the historical significance. Not that that's not still an important sector, but it's really shrunken as we've had these new technological advancements, and you just need less workers to produce those products. At the same time, we've seen billions of dollars of investment in the manufacturing of either those hydrocarbons themselves or in energy-intensive manufacturing. And really the reason for that, perhaps ironically, is the fact that we've had these technological advancements in the oil and gas extraction piece of it. And so today in Louisiana, we employ more people in that energy manufacturing sector, as we call it, than we do in the upstream space. And so that's really been a big focus for us this last decade. And of course, also, what is driving those announcements? What's that kind of balance of cost competitiveness at the same time with those emissions reductions that have been another big point of discussion that we've been looking at.
For sure. And I know as a legislator in discussions, it is something that comes up all the time. And some of that, you talk a little bit about those changes when it comes to the loss of jobs, but then also like the shift, right, to the technological advances, just for the average listener, right, who maybe is not in the weeds of this like you are every day. What are some of those advances, and what are some of those shifts within the jobs, right? And how are we as a state, you think, making those adjustments for those new opportunities for people here? Can you kind of break that down a little bit for the average listener?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So if you go back again a decade, if you look at the total amount of energy used in the U.S. economy, it's actually about within 1% of what we use today. So if you go back actually before the financial crisis and you compare that to the most recent year, almost exactly the same. And the reason for that is you've had technological advancements of efficiencies. Think about the fuel economy of the vehicles. Your appliances today are so much more efficient. But on the other hand, you've had economic growth, and those kind of two pieces have been in balance, and therefore energy demand's been flat. But at the same time, we've had enormous technological advancements that have led to increases in energy production. So that includes oil and natural gas, but it also includes renewable energy as well. And so you've had supply of these products increase. And again, we're producing it more efficiently, so we need less workers to produce that same supply, while demand's been flat. And so what does this mean for us as a state? As you had Secretary Bourgeois on earlier, we are seeing historic investment in the manufacturing of these products that then we ship all over the world. And it's really that international nature of our industries here, of having these global companies that are investing billions of dollars in what we call foreign direct investment into Louisiana communities and then exporting those products all over the world. So that's really been, I think, the key driver to this economic development that we've seen in those downstream sectors.
No, and that's great information. It's great for people to kind of, just to kind of break that down for everyone as we're looking at it, because it really is all connected. So much of the economic development piece and like energy and our role it has to play right on the global scale. What are some of the things that you feel like within in oil and gas? I know there's a lot of conversations about CCS within, with different companies, as people are coming here. Is that something, and there's some that I know Brian talks a lot about carbon sequestration and trying to help kind of break that down for listeners. Do you feel in some of these businesses that some of that is predicated on some of those technologies, or what are you seeing? Is it predicated with the use of some of the carbon capture, within that sector, or some businesses it doesn't matter as much? Is it equal to that, or can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know that does come up along our colleagues, and it comes up just in talking to people every day. Like, how much of an impact is it making, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. As you know, that was a key debate this last legislative session. So for listeners that are not familiar, there's something called CCUS, and that is carbon capture, utilization, and storage or sequestration. You can use the word storage or sequestration synonymously. So what does that mean? We have these point sources of emissions in Louisiana, these petrochemical and big industrial facilities that emit carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And so the first step to CCUS is the capture of that. So the company will install equipment that will, instead of emitting that carbon dioxide, they'll capture that. And then they put that typically into a pipeline, and then they either move that to a place where that can be utilized for some industrial purpose. And there are many industrial purposes for which we utilize CO2. It can also be utilized for what's called enhanced oil recovery, where you'll put that carbon dioxide underground, and then it is used to actually increase the amount of oil and natural gas that's extracted from certain formations. And then there's also what's called sequestration, and that's with the carbon dioxide that's left over that there's no economic use for. You're going to permanently sequester that underground. And so, how does that kind of play into our economic development? And we're about to release some numbers here in about a month or so, but I'll give them to you, the preliminary numbers here today. We looked at all of the investments that have happened in Louisiana over the last decade, and that's about $135 billion, and that's data from LED. And essentially none of that had a CCS component. But when we look at all of the project announcements that are out right now, we've got a total of about $100 million in project announcements that are currently been announced through LED, and about 60 million of those projects have a CCS component explicitly mentioned. And so what you're seeing is these companies, as they're selling these products to the global world, these customers all over the world are asking these companies, hey, we not only need this thing to be cost competitive, but we also want to know what the emissions intensity is, and we also want to know that that's competitive relative to other parts of the world. And so companies are really starting to balance those two pieces of it. The other, kind of piece of it that's debated is, of course, the tax credits that we have in the U.S. for CCS. And so there's what's called the 45Q tax credit, and that's a federal tax credit. And these companies are receiving that tax credit in order to either sequester or to utilize that carbon dioxide for enhanced oil recovery.
Well, you brought up an interesting point too. I believe, and look, and if it's not something you can speak to, I totally understand that. But there is a project. I think within the Bossier area where the carbon is utilized for other things, right? And as far as
Mhm.
taking that out, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's connected to jet fuel. Am I saying that right? Is that something, Greg? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so I certainly am. I don't. I try to avoid talking about specific projects for obvious reasons,
Yeah, for sure.
but
It
yeah,
brings up an interesting point though of how it's utilized. I feel like, and I think that's not always something that we think about how it can be repurposed to that degree, right? And that was just something I know you hit on, and so not really to talk about that specific project, but is that something that is you're more within the industry as this carbon discussion is happening as well with projects similar to that?
that is absolutely happening, and very exciting. LSU actually received the largest ever federally funded project from the National Science Foundation about 2 years ago, called the Future Use of Energy in Louisiana. And while LSU was the prime applicant, it's really a statewide network of not only universities across the state, but also businesses, as well as the economic development associations. And that's $160 million over 10 years to focus exactly on what you talk about, which is that carbon utilization. And kind of the logic for this is that, hey, look, if we want to reduce carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere, in the short run, sequestration might be a great option. We can really reduce those emissions really quickly. But in the long run, if we want to ensure that those emissions reductions persist beyond a time period where there's tax credits and those kind of subsidies for it, we have to take that product and make it into a usable product.
Yeah.
And so while there's a lot of uses for carbon dioxide currently in industry, the reality is that the share of that is a small share of the total amount emitted. And so what fuel, again, the future use of energy is all about is really investing and thinking hard of what are the technological advancements in that carbon utilization that can create a market for that what's now a waste product.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. Like I could probably continue to ask you these questions. There's so much in depth here. Thanks for sharing a little bit more too about the utilization piece. We're coming up to a break. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking more again. And for those listening, listen to Talk 107.3, and we'll be right back. That's fascinating. The utilization piece, like that's what I'm so curious about. You know what I mean? All right, let me get. What's his name called to? Do I have Drew? Drew Merle? Drew. Drew Morrell. Well, it's been fun. We've been rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. Have to be at the castle for one. Go home and we have a meeting today for some higher ed stuff. And good morning, Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane, wrapping up the show. Emily Chenevert in the chair today. And to close out the show, we have a final guest that's going to be coming on right now. And excited to have Drew Merle with the St. George Council member. Drew, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Look, I figured, it was a couple minutes. I know reached out, thought it'd be great to just kind of have a quick chat as we wrap up the show. We have a few minutes actually, but
Yeah.
and just give us an update a little bit about what is going on within St. George. Some of the most recent. I know a lot of us were all together this week, but just some things that are being discussed kind of in the southeast part of the parish.
Well, I think first and foremost, if you're on Segan Lane anytime soon, you're going to see a transformation, and it started in the past month where we're sending in recovery groups to remove homeless people, to offer them rehab opportunities to get some help. And then we're going in with Keep Tigertown Beautiful and coordinating where they go in and clean up. Then we're going in after that to evaluate and see, can we prevent this homeless camp problem where all the crime and the needles and infestation, can we prevent that from happening again? Or is it something where we're just going to have to be a nuisance and be vigilant about it? And that's what we're doing. So you'll see extra patrols in your morning and afternoon commutes, extra deputies out there, making sure that you're not getting the aggressive panhandlers, making sure that we're getting some of those folks off the street. And also, and look, because of that program, we've had 4 felony warrants taken off the street so far. We've had 4 or 5 at Choose Rehab. And more importantly, we're cleaning up the streets. So you're going to see a cleaner, family-friendly Segan Lane. And we want people to come back and enjoy shopping and visiting the area again and going to school and not having to see some of the things they were having to see in the past.
Look, I love that. I think that's just one of the great improvements and things that we're going to start seeing. Obviously now I'm kind of in that area. And I know for me and my kids, when we're over there, and I talk to a lot of families and businesses, I think that's a great thing for everybody. It's a win for all, right? To get people back shopping, right? Get people out,
Yeah, you've got school, you've got church, you've got it's an economic driver for St. George, and this is a wonderful area that's supposed to be family-friendly and wonderful. And we're paying attention, and we're getting it back there. So I would just encourage everyone to try Segan Lane out and see what you think. I think you're going to find it's looking a lot different.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and kind of the last minute in talking, what are some things you feel like you're working on the council that you want people to know that may be listening in, right now, some big things that you're facing y'all?
First and foremost, if you feel like EBR wasn't paying attention to you in the past, I don't know, decade or so, we are. And so you have an opportunity now to put your 311 complaints in, and they're going to get filtered to St. George. You've got a chance to contact a council member who's accountable to you, and they will listen to you and try to help you. And as our DPW ramps up in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, you're going to start seeing appreciable results, and your 311 calls are going to start getting answered, and we're evaluating and assessing all the things that we get to take over, and we're going to start doing that work. And I think you're going to see, hey, you know what? I had a 311 ticket that's 3 years old, and no one ever came out there and did anything about it. And you're going to start seeing that that's going to get taken care of in the near future.
I love that. Well, look, thank you so much, Drew, just for just popping in, giving us some information. And wrapping up the show with me this morning. You've been listening to Talk 107.3 with Brian Haldane. Thank you for listening in. Hope all of you have a wonderful Thursday and close to kicking off a great weekend. Have a great one.
All right. We're clear.
Awesome. That was good.
Perfect. That was awesome.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
He's great on quick.
Yeah. Facebook, thanks for listening and watching.
Yep, thank you for being a part, hanging out with us this morning.